Okay.
Hit that light in there off.
Yeah, I got it.
Hey, everybody.
Hi,
Our sign
everybody.
needs to be rebuilt there.
The what?
Our sign needs to be rebuilt.
Yeah,
It's not
probably.
starting to fade out.
Get the original sign master here.
Yeah.
Okay, how's the audio going, everybody?
Are we on?
It's the right camera.
This is the awkward question.
There you go, Panner.
How's this? How's
Yep.
Okay, good.
Okay.
All righty. We got 9 people watching already. Oh, look. I'm putting my face up there. It goes down to 7. What's new?
Oh, hey, BC.
Hey, Jeremy, BC.
David.
Okay.
Doug.
Hi, Mr. Lodak. Haven't seen you in a couple weeks. Glad to see you here.
Hi, Mr. Lodak.
Anyhow, so it's getting winter supposedly around here. But what was it today? 50 some degrees?
Yeah, yesterday was 60 something, I think, in town. You're 64 in town.
Well, it was good because I got a couple hours yesterday. I was out at the ranch and I was just pumping pregnant through the resin the whole time I was there.
Good chance to do that.
Yeah. And I basically winterized the mill. Hey, Adam. But anytime I'm out there, if the preg is
Free enough.
liquid,
Yeah.
then I'll just drop a pump in it and
Keep
run
pumping
it.
it.
Yeah, because I'm basically crushing ore and stockpiling it. And so we're trying to haul ore from the mine, but you have to have empty buckets to put the ore in.
All right.
So, hey, Sherry, how's it going? Haven't seen you in a while.
Hi, Sherry.
And so I like to, crush it and then stockpile the crushed ore,
Right.
which will come in handy. Hey, Smoking.
Hey, Smoking.
And so the other thing I've started doing here is as we're doing this, as I'm crushing it, I do it by the bucket because that's, about what I can pick up and everything.
Right.
And at the end of each bucket, I'll let the crusher go dry so I can pull stuff out from under and dump it in the wheelbarrow. But I also take a shovel and take a little scoop out of it with a shovel, put it in another bucket so that as I'm doing all this, I'm creating a composite sample that I then split down.
Sure.
And Sherry says, hey, it's so good to hear you, Eva.
I'll be on in a while.
Yeah, she'll be up at around 7:30 with her tinfoil hat report if you're still around, Sherry, and you want to see her and see how well she's doing. But anyhow, so this allows me to get a really big sample.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, 15 buckets of 30 to 35 pounds each is 500 pounds.
Yeah.
So I'll call it a 500-pound sample, and it was shipped out. There's 2 other samples. Number 1, there's the brownish stuff in there, the high iron oxide stuff. There's also a vein about this wide, or a structure there at the edge of the vein that's pretty much black. Okay, can't tell exactly what it is, but it's a sooty black.
Mm-hmm.
And don't know if it's carbon, if it's molybdenum, whatever. But anyhow, so the trip last weekend.
It's the melted rock from the meteor.
Yeah. I come on over here when you come back, little one, and say hi to Sherry.
Hi, Sherry.
Anyhow, so that's what I'm trying to figure out, Chris.
That'd be my guess too, Chris.
Manganese. One of the 2. Whatever it is, it's clearly chemically different from the other stuff. So I carefully got a whole bucket of that and kept it segregated. And then as I was kicking the rib back a little bit, taking it out with a Hilti so that the ladder track has enough clearance so the carriage can come through, I smelled garlic. Now, you know what that means, right?
Garlic could be what, sulfides or
Arsenic.
Arsenic, yeah.
Arsenic usually.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
anyhow,
wouldn't doubt it's there.
she says, "Hey, my darling." Now this was just wall rock.
Yeah.
There wasn't any obvious mineralization
Yeah,
or anything. So I took a bucket of that. Yeah, see, Chris, arsenic.
Yeah.
So I took a bucket of that, segregated it off to the side too. So we got 3 samples on the way to the.
What level of arsenic you got?
Yeah. And you got your other.
Actually, to find
Yeah,
out
I
whether
think
it's
they, right?
arsenic with gold in it.
Okay.
Well, it could be. Yeah.
What level?
Thanks, David. I appreciate it. You got your markers?
Yep.
Okay. Now, for all of you, you're going to redo this one, right?
Yeah, you could go ahead
Go ahead and wipe
erase
that one.
here. Yeah.
You got the wiper with you?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, tear it off and we'll start over.
So anyhow, the yeah, it's been on there a while. Little one, can you get the alcohol out of the bathroom?
Or I could get the vodka from the counter.
Yeah, try and find it. Trying to find it.
There you go.
Drank the
Oh,
last
yeah,
one.
try and find it. It seems to have all been drunk up, and it weren't by me.
I know it wasn't by you.
He has to drink to deal with me, people.
No, just to get to sleep. Sometimes. Goodness gracious. It's so annoying.
Starting to smear it a little bit. Dry down there, but good.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you lost the alcohol. You got to go quick. There we go. Anyhow, so let me kind of show you guys what the situation is. Give me a marker. There we go. Okay, so we have a hillside, and we have what we call the upper decline here, the middle decline here, and down and offset about 40 feet is the lower decline. Now this follows the pack rat structure. These two are essentially in the plane of the board. We call it the perpendicular vein. And it's, what is a micro? No, just micro mining, not micro light, just very small scale mining. I mean, as
Yeah.
you know, Jim will tell you, small scale mining is like 50 tons a day by the normal criteria. We're looking at 1 or 2 tons a day, maybe.
Right, maybe even, yeah.
So this goes down like that. And this also goes down, but farther in, and then comes this way. And then the tunnel comes over here and meets up with this. Kind of like that. This, let's say it has a vein structure here. This was the timbered area in this area because there's a little bit of subsidence and stuff here. The hillside failed. This is timbered up. And I had taken grab samples, you know, channel samples basically, of the structure like every 10 feet or so.
Good.
And right around here, it started hitting at the bottom end of what we call high grade ore, around 1 ounce to the ton. Okay. And above that was less than that. But as we're doing these bulk samples, it's actually coming out a little higher than the original grab so far. We're only down 9 feet.
Right.
So we haven't even gotten to the juicy stuff, supposedly. So far, the grade is better than anticipated,
That's good.
and it's 2 foot wide.
Nice structure.
It's doing good.
Yeah.
It's very consistent. So we're doing well here. Anything else?
No, just comments.
Okay. So here's the plan. And down here is supposed to be high grade. Okay, and this is high grade. Wow, that's very poorly done. So the idea is to increase the angle of the decline. Will be underhand mining, which is the easy thing to do with a demolition
right in front of
hammer. And coming down here and slicing this off, increasing the angle, laying in the ladder track behind us. This also is very irregular because they had steps.
Sure. Oh,
You know,
because of the angle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they had vertical and
Drop.
horizontal stuff. They had basically ties or whatever
Mhm.
that they put their rails on, and they were just wood rails.
Sure.
Okay.
That's normal.
So anyhow, the idea is to increase this angle. I originally thought this was 60 degrees. The Harbor Freight protractor level bullet torpedo level that I have says it's actually about 55. Now, it's Harbor Freight,
Right.
okay? But so I'm assuming this is now 55 degrees. I was still shooting for my 60. But again, this is all ore here. And it shows no signs of dissipating into this wall. I mean, it's still right there.
So you could keep.
So,
Well, at some point you could advance there
so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to increase this angle to 65 degrees.
and go into it a little bit.
Get some more. And just a second, let me get this thing here. Now, I can't show you folks the actual numbers because I don't have authorization. But probably have to wear more of my glasses. This slice here, 2 feet wide, comes out to 21 tons of ore. This slice here comes up to 19 tons of ore. Then as we go down for about another 40 feet where we have some good assays, and just looking, they dug into that foot wall there. They thought there was some juicy stuff there.
Yeah.
So the assumption is this is even better.
As you're getting deeper.
And again, using my channel samples as an indicator, assuming we go down another 40 feet, which appears to be about as deep as the really good stuff goes, we would wind up with another 100 tons of rock at this angle here. Now, the other thing that we're considering, even at this angle here, there's probably going to be stuff still left there, which is highly undesirable. I don't like the idea of leaving ore behind me. So we're looking at a concept where if here's your ladder track coming down the decline, and these are basically, there's tubing on each, round tubing on each side with inserts that couples it together. If I make almost a sill plate here, the piece sticking up like this, and then if I take this tube on this side and cut the back of it out so it only has the front, put that in place, you have a door. See?
Yeah.
So you could take,
Work.
peel that away,
Work.
work behind it, put the buckets in front of it, close it, lower your carriage down. Load the carriage, haul it up. You know, this, dude, I got to kick the wall back just to get the ladder track and carriage through.
Yeah, right. But
And to make a pass through, let's suppose that up here, I made a pass through.
Watch your comments, guys.
Okay.
well,
So that we can get around the ladder track. Well, there's two problems with it. Number one, you destabilize this wall.
yeah,
Actually, three problems. Number two, you got to move a lot of waste.
right.
And number three, what happens when you mine down to here? Well, now you have to have a separate ladder back in here. See? So if this stuff continues, we may actually.
Wouldn't it be better than to run the ladder track in this one and stope this?
No,
up and
that's
out?
40 feet behind.
Oh, it's
the
too far
whiteboard.
back.
Yeah, it's way the heck back there.
Okay.
It's a totally different structure. this structure runs this way.
Oh,
This
this
structure
one-
runs this way.
Okay.
Okay.
Because it'd be easier to mine this from the bottom going up.
And not with the
But-
demo hammer.
But not with your crap in the way, you know,
Yeah.
when the hoisting issue becomes in.
Yeah. So that way, once I get to right about here, if there's still a lot of weather, I want to get away from the surface
Debris.
weathering.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, you want to get good solid
good,
rock.
right? So you can hold it.
You know, and then start mining back here to see where it pinches up. Now I can't tell up here what's going on because there's a dump there. Down at the bottom, at about this elevation on the outside of the hill here, there's a road, and they took a little bit of a divot out of the hillside, what appears to be right along this structure, but it's not there.
Doesn't
When you
show when you get that far
Yeah.
out.
And from inside here, they took a chunk out here. And again, this is just a crack. So presumption is
It's not out there.
that this is waste. Okay. Now it may not be. It may just be a little pocket of fill right here.
So how much distance is in here
Um,
out to the road?
40 to 50 feet. It's not a whole lot, but to mine through waste without equipment, it's a fair
Yeah.
amount.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, you
It-
could
it-
drill and blast that in a week, though.
yeah,
And you have a tunnel all the way to
yeah.
here.
If you, yeah,
That'd make it easy to get ore out.
oh yeah, but then you have something called permitting
Well, sooner or later, you're going to have permitting anyway.
sooner or later. Right
Yeah,
now,
well,
no significant disturbance.
well, I don't want to bring it up on
Yeah.
here, but I'll talk to you a little later about
I have a question about the
What?
no significance disturbance
that.
thing.
Yeah, so do I.
A little hole in the wall wouldn't be a significant disturbance.
Surface disturbance.
Yes.
Well, you'd have all
Well-
this waste rock coming out, so you got a pile.
What I was about to say is that middle decline goes down to the 170-foot level. So is there no reason why we couldn't throw the waste in there?
Yeah, because you fill up a hole you may want to use later.
Yep. You don't want to cut. You don't want to bury your own
You don't want to go.
future. Don't bury your future.
It's low grade all the way down.
Is it?
And so you wouldn't want to completely bury it. Yeah, it doesn't show here, but
I see. Go low, low.
yeah. And I'm right here. They're about like this assay there.
Yeah.
Well, another possibility
And
would
if the
be
price
that
of gold goes up,
we had a trailer out there to put the waste rock on the trailer and take it to the patented mine and leave it there.
I have no idea, Chris. That's a possibility. But again, smoking, it's a matter of permitting, et cetera. Right now, we're keeping it very small and minimum disturbance because that doesn't require a plan of operations. Right now, the government is not giving out any plans of operations that I'm aware of. Have you heard of any?
No, they're harassing some of my buddies though right now, so I don't know where we're going here.
Yeah, well, we don't know where anything's going here in the near future. But if the law says no significant surface disturbance,
Right.
so if we're not disturbing the surface, theoretically we're obeying the law. We don't need anything. Therefore, we don't need to say anything and draw attention. Okay,
Right.
so that's what we're
Is
doing.
this BLM or
BLM.
Oh,
Which is a lot
they're
better.
easier to work with.
Yeah, they're a lot better. But anyhow, so let's say we're planning on going out there this week, Thursday and Friday, to do a little more work, mainly to try and swing this back in a little bit to get that 65-degree slope, because there's only so much even I can do. And during the week, the claim owner and his
Can
son are
you-
working.
Can you mine some of this out and literally make a pocket back in there? And then catch up with your angle that you want.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I mean, right now, at this elevation, you're only talking 6 inches difference
Okay.
between 60 and 65 degrees. So all you got to do is be able to move the bottom spreader bar on those timber posts about 6 inches. I should be there.
That's
Yeah.
easy.
So that's not a problem. So basically just take a slice off of this and establish the new angle. But after that, a week from today, I get cataract surgery in one eye.
Okay.
A week later, Eva goes to Missoula for her checkup. That Thursday, I have cataract surgery in the other eye. And someday winter will show up.
Yeah, it's coming.
Sooner or later,
That's
winter
true,
will be here.
Chris. It really is under exploration at this point, and
Yeah, it's all,
and there's a lot of leeway in only going exploration.
saying that's all we're doing right now is testing and sampling and such.
Right. Yep.
So let's say this may be my last week out there.
It might be
For the winter.
because I have a feeling when it turns here, it's going to be like a light switch.
It could easily be.
Yeah.
So anyhow, we're trying to get as much ore mined and out to the ranch because there's crushing and grinding testing that we can do
Mhm.
over the winter. All you have to do is have no precipitation, not enough snow on the ground to be a problem,
Right.
and above 20 degrees, to where you can work reasonably safely and easily, and you can do
not
that.
slipping and sliding.
I wish I had my MIG welder, but yes, that's wire feed, and I'm not a big fan of flux core wire feed.
Mm. Well, it can be all right if you got enough power to burn with it.
Yeah, it's not too bad, but no, I'm not the best welder in the world. And thank you, John. Yes. Now, by the way, though, I will tell you, my grandson just took a welding class. The teacher said he's welding better than him. Okay, he sent me some pictures.
They're good, really good at it.
He's got the knack.
I drink too
Hey,
much.
Coulter.
I drink too much coffee. I shake.
Rest your arm on something.
I do, but I don't know.
Yes. But anyhow, so that's the deal here is get this first portion established.
Yeah.
And lined out and ready to go. Get some more samples maybe. The claim owner and his son may go out there themselves because they've seen me set it up and tear it down
Mm-hmm.
and helped with that. So they're pretty confident they can do that. And
Sure.
so if the weather's good and I'm incapacitated because of my eyeballs,
They can do.
then they can
some of
still
it.
do it.
Yeah.
But we want to get ore stocked out there, and I still need another piece of carpet. You helped out a lot, but I need about another piece of carpet that size. We got 2 people in town. We're saying, got some carpet? One lace carpet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to, twist the claim owner's arm a little bit to say, call him up, get another piece of carpet.
Yeah.
But I'm crushing with the RC46, 500 pounds an hour, something like that, hour and a half. And
Thanks, Chris.
well, some are a lot easier to use than the other.
It really does. If you get the power right and everything, it makes it a whole lot easier.
Jeff says he thinks the shaking gets the 2 sides of the weld together. Stitch it, yeah. And so anyhow, that's the idea of what we're trying to do here this week. And then after that, I have no idea if I'm going to be out there anymore this winter. I will be working on the resin. I'll be doing some bottle roll tests on the other resins.
Yep.
We'll be trying to get the gold out of the resin. And we'll probably be doing some crushing and grinding because my little impact mill is fine. It's 125 pounds an hour.
Yeah.
We got that Stutenroth out there rated at 2 tons an hour.
Yeah, it can do quite the difference.
It's like, I think we need to
That's a big jump in scale. Well, you could cut yourself back to a ton an hour easy enough. But
Yeah.
That's still a ton an hour.
Yeah. That's going to keep you busy throwing rock into it.
Yeah.
And also that big jaw crusher out there, they're talking about putting a slant 6 on it, because they got a bunch of old engines. You've seen the boneyard out there. They have lots of things with engines in them. Well, did you lose the data that you gathered, or are you looking for the reference data? Wow, that's cold smoking. Yep.
Oh, Canadian.
Hey, Canadian gold prospector.
Yep.
So anyhow, that's the basic plan here. And depending on how much we can mine out behind it, we could easily get, 75 or 100 tons before we had a problem. On the walls here, the south wall, which is the one we're in basically, if we're looking at this, it is solid as pardon the pun, solid as a rock. I mean, you can see the sedimentary structures in it clear as day, just like someone took a knife and cut through the mountain. The other side is fragmented pretty badly. I'm not sure whether that's wall rock or previous stuff or whatever, but that got broken up pretty good, and it's a real pain because as soon as you start moving something, other stuff is, to the point where you can go and knock it down. And so that's an issue. We may have to put up chain link or something like that.
Stabilizing, yeah.
Because it's not bad when it's right next to you, but if it's 10 feet overhead,
no, you're gonna want.
now it's a problem.
Got some cyclone fencing or something that you can tie it back.
I was planning on laying the ladder track on stoles because right away you're getting ground support there. But I was also thinking of hanging chain link, from here, hang it down, and then we can put stoles in as we go.
Put some wire across them.
We can put wire across to catch our plywood.
Right.
Again, it's only 36 inches wide.
Right.
No big deal.
So how big's the structure the other way? Any idea?
What do you mean deep?
Yeah, if you're just taking out behind your ladder, that's like you say, it's only yay wide.
Mm-hmm.
How about for width both ways? Is there more
That's
to
what
it?
I've been asking
No,
him.
it's just mainly that vein.
Wall rock, yeah.
Okay, all right. So
As
it's
far as I
very
can tell.
defined.
Yeah, it's very well defined. Again, the far side, the north wall, is much more fractured. That's the one that had the arsenic smell. And so it may be mineralized.
Mhm.
If it is, then theoretically we could, mine some of that.
Yeah.
But we don't know. And so we're just getting started on this.
Right.
We just got through the timbering and stuff. But that's our basic idea is we can come in here, we can lay stoles ahead of us as we go and use those stoles. My thought was take a stole, socket it the best you can, but I was also thinking before we put them, drill like a 1/2-inch hole through it. And then we've got these 10 millimeter bits and
Piece of rebar or something.
I got some long bits,
Yeah.
and so go through the stole, drill into the rock, and then just pin it.
Yep.
Yep. And that pin will also hold the chain link.
Sure.
And as you come down, you know how to thread chain link together, right?
Yeah.
So you just hang it, to the floor, and then as you mine out next
Put
to it, when
another
it's about
piece in.
there, just thread another piece on
Yeah.
and hang it and brace it. How cold is it now? What's it say out on the porch?
I don't know.
Not as
45 on my
Yeah,
phone.
it's got to be at least. It's almost summer here.
there it is.
but
Says 45 right there.
I got 46 on my phone.
Yeah, it's
so-
not very cold right here right now. This is not the way it's supposed to be.
No.
I'm happy with this, but especially Monday when I showed up at the ranch, it's like liquid, yay!
Oh man.
So that's the basic thing there. Now the other thing I got to do this week was, of course, the Sierra Blaster, and this is a blasting head, as they call it. And where's the thing here? This is a cartridge. and it fits on the end of the blasting head. Friction fits there, and then the wires go down a groove on the side here, and okay, be that way. See if I care. And then you hook it up to an electric initiation, not electronic. It's 200 watts per head is what they want you to have.
Pretty good power.
Oh yeah. The second one that I shot,
Yeah.
the first one broke the wires, so nothing happened. The second one, even though it initiated as I drilled through the rock, it's wearing out bits and stuff. And then about when I was getting to the depth that I wanted, all of a sudden it just started advancing. And I'm like, crap, soft stuff. And so that just, it initiated, but it just blew out the bottom. The gas just went away.
Yeah.
And, but when I did that, you could hear the generator lug down, They must have these wires don't look that big, but apparently they can carry enough current for a short period of time.
Well, that booster's probably like a capacitor, isn't it?
No, should be just a resistance element.
That's it.
And the charge. That's possible. However, I noticed something very interesting today. First of all, I got a big toolbox, so I can put all the stuff in one box. You got these 2-foot long drill bits and things, and it just won't go in this. They give you this very nice little case, and it has everything except for the explosives and the drill bits. And you aren't going to fit a 2-foot drill bit in that.
No.
So again, I got this box here, so I can kind of put everything in one kit, because I tend to lose stuff.
It's nice when you know that everything's where it goes.
Well, the nice thing is when you set it somewhere, you don't have to pick up anything but that one box, and you've got all the stuff you need.
Yep.
Today's Monday. Usually we'll take the laundry, put it in, go shopping, come back, switch it into the dryer, go shopping, come back. We're going down the steps, and my beloved wife goes, "Did you remember the laundry?" No. I came in. And I forgot what it was else. Do you recall what else it was I needed to pick up? Oh, the change.
The
The quarters.
You came back in, picked up the change.
I got the quarters, put them in a sack, walked out the door again. Had to come back in, get the laundry. And then this afternoon, when we'd done our second bit of shopping at Walmart, and I'm headed home, and Eva goes, "Don't we have to go get the laundry?" So I can be pretty scatterbrained at times, so I like to keep everything in one package. But anyhow, as I was doing this, I thought, well, I talked to the manufacturer today. He says it hasn't been a problem. So I took one of those cartridges and put it on there, and the wire went in the groove just fine. Like, well, maybe this is the one I didn't use. So I took the other one and tried it, and it went in just fine. But out in the field, it wasn't at all. So clearly something has changed. Now, my incredible genius says, well, maybe it's a temperature thingy. I called the manufacturer. He said they have tested these way down into the negatives and hadn't seen a problem. But my thought was, maybe the insulation on the wire gets stiff. So right now, folks, we have a cartridge in the refrigerator chilling down. We have a blasting head out on the porch chilling down. And after Eva's tinfoil hat repart, or they should have stabilized, we'll try it. We'll try the cold blasting.
Smoking says, put that groove up there close to the camera.
Okay.
You can actually see how small it is. Small.
I have another temperature possibility for you there.
Yeah, there's the groove. No, you're not seeing a groove there. That's just a reflection. There's the groove above the reflection. I don't know. It's not.
Yeah, it's just to say a groove in that thing.
There's the
Those
groove
two
right
wires
there.
Go in there pretty.
It's pretty snug.
Yeah.
So there's your groove right there.
There's another temperature factor that could be involved.
Yep.
How the temperature affected Bear's fingers.
And was there any folded over wire by chance? No. The wires were nice and straight and smooth. And the next morning when I got out there, I put the cap on and I'm taking my fingernail, and you can see it looks threaded, but I think that's just an easy way to machine a bunch of ridges, like piston rings basically. Yeah. And so I was taking my finger and pushing in between in the lower part of each thread to try and push that wire in, and it wasn't quite going. It wouldn't go in there. And I was pushing a lot. I've got fairly strong hands. So there was definitely a major resistance that was not there this afternoon. The exact same blasting head. I used 3 cartridges last weekend. So it's not like one cartridge was funky for some reason. They all gave me the same problem. So we're going to try and see if we can figure it out. And
this would shrink. It's stainless.
The metal's going to shrink some.
To a certain amount. It shouldn't be that tight a tolerance.
I say the manufacturer said, Aaron said that they've tested it with dry ice to cool it, and it didn't do it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Little window screen too.
It'd have to be a lot narrower than that, but yeah.
They make some little ones.
Yeah, I don't know. That's awfully small. Look at that. What is that?
It's not,
1 millimeter?
Yeah, it's not much of a groove.
It's not much of a groove. So anyhow, we're going to do that experiment later tonight. Oh, and Chris.
Oh, Lincoln.
Well, as I say, it was three cartridges, Chris. Now this has the extra weight on it. My question is, with the extra weight, does this need a rock on top or not? I presume that weight. Feel how heavy that is.
Holy shit. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's
heavy.
What, about 10, 12 pounds?
It must be.
So I think that would not require a rock. Do you know for sure, Chris? No, the mine is not patented. You would need a plan of operations, BR. And that means, Chris says, it's better to put more on there. Yeah. But anyhow, you'd need a plan of operations, which means you would have to write up a plan of operations, submit it to the BLM, and have them approve it, which years ago would normally take them like 3 to 6 months, right?
No, a plan of operation. Well, yeah, it could take them a year.
Yeah, exactly. And right now, as far as we can tell, the new administration has said all these plans have to go to Washington to get approved.
Well, supposedly a plan of operations has no true requirement from them. All it is you're telling them what you're doing.
No, that would be a notice of intent.
No, it's okay. Excuse me. Notice of intent.
Yeah.
Filing a notice of intent in some cases like this, where you have no real disturbance or anything, you may be able to work under just a notice of intent.
Yeah.
But once you take it and, step over certain boundaries there, then it's a full out plan of operations, which means basically a mining plan. And
reclamation plan.
Yeah. That could take a considerable amount of time to get through the red tape. And right now, I don't know.
Correct,
if you
BR.
Get it
at this point, because all the disturbance is underground, and they're concerned about surface disturbance. They don't regulate underground. No, the blast head was not vertical because the rock I was trying to pop is frustrating because it wasn't very big, but it was so if I had stuck this in with 5 inches of penetration, which was what minimum manufacturer, plus another 3 or 4 inch cartridge, by that time I'm within an inch or two of the bottom of the rock,
right?
And it's just going to blow out. So to do that, I took it at an angle so that it would bring it up away from the bottom of the rock. And say the first shot, I broke the wires. The second shot, I got too close to the, I actually went through it.
Blew out the bottom.
Yeah. And so it's not the blaster's fault. I mean, the blasting device's fault that it's not used the way it's supposed to be used. This requires containment. I'm not sure what the propellant is.
Get the gas pressure.
But the gas pressure causes it to burn faster.
Right.
So if you don't have the gas pressure, it's just like if you take the powder out of your rifle round,
shotgun shell, it just burns.
It goes, it doesn't go bang.
Right. Right.
And so without containment.
Yeah, that's true.
That's it. I wasn't sure. And I went and to prevent fly rock from damaging the head. I wasn't worried about anything else. I mean, it would take a big chunk of rock to damage that timber. But I actually punched a hole in the carpet and slid this through it. So I had that whole carpet to catch the fly rock and slow it down. And it really, really annoyed the hell out of me. When I came back later, I see that the GoPro had fallen in the decline. And then when I looked at the video, it's like, oh, I knocked it in when I climbed down to check the blasting shield. Oh. The demolition hammer takes care of almost everything. So far, we've had to set off one blast with one head. That's it. Everything else was demo hammer. Most of it relatively straightforward, not really working hard. There's some spots where you got to let it bang a little bit before it breaks it, but not too much.
Good.
And so the demolition hammer is a lot faster and easier and cheaper than drilling holes and putting, and it's the Sierra Blaster, according to the manufacturer, doesn't work good on soft material because the gas just escapes.
You're right, you lose your pressure.
So you need something that's pretty solid and contiguous for it to work. Well, if I can beat it up with a Hilti, I don't need that. Yeah, put a hole in the carpet and run the blasting head through. That's what he's talking about. It's not a religious thing.
Yeah, John.
That's correct, John. And the claim owner also found a good use for the carpet. It's good for your knees when you're kneeling.
Oh yeah.
On the stuff.
Yeah, it's nice to have some.
But as I say, it was frustrating the first day. I edited a fair amount of 4-letter words out because we got there a little bit late. The sun goes down like noon around here nowadays, it seems like. And no, it was on Friday afternoon. So I'm just trying to get this thing to go. And first thing that I ran into the problem was these drill bits. They seem to work about as good as the Hilti bit. That is the Hilti bit there.
Okay, 4-way star.
Yeah. Oh, for God's sakes. Did you come over here? Thank you. But these would dull to the point where they lose their penetration ability in about 3 inches.
Were you wetting them?
No, the guy said don't wet them, just change them quickly.
Wet them.
Okay.
It'll keep the bit cool. You keep that carbide a little cool, it'll keep drilling.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference.
Was it Terry, I think, said to do that too?
Yeah.
But anyhow, these you can regrind pretty easily. That one, not so much.
Smoking said, put them up to the camera.
Okay. I'll do the best I can. They're not that dull. That's not bad. And anyhow, you can see the carbide's worn down a little bit. And at about there, the penetration would go to zip de nada. And this was a Hilti bit. You can see it's going to be a little trickier to grind. And I did get a diamond blade for the grinder to do that.
That's a good idea too, Chris. That'd cool that bit down, Chris.
Yeah. But I mean, you can see when you're drilling a 12-inch hole, that's 4 bits right there, without regrinding, which is why I have a lot of worn bits in here.
Well, hopefully you get away from that hard rock, but you'll see.
We've only had the one spot so far that we had to, but that corner and that other side, it's looking suspiciously
Well,
hard.
now you got the tools for it.
Yeah. And so anyhow, that also answers the question. Some people were asking, well, what if you drill a series of parallel holes in it and then hit it with the hammer? Yeah, the drilling part would get really tedious.
Right. Burn up a whole box of drill bits.
Yeah, the Sierra
18
Blaster
drill bits later.
It did a pretty good job. You can see how clean it sheared that rock.
Well, you see, we could always light a fire under the rock and keep the fire going for 4 or 5 days, and then pour cold water on it.
Yeah.
Mohammed, feathers and wedges. The feathers go in the hole, and they're kind of like an inverted wedge, like this. And then you drive a wedge between them, and when you drill a series of holes in the rock and you put feathers in it and then drive wedges in those holes, it'll split the rock.
It creates a lot of pressure.
A lot of tension.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And so anyhow, that's what it is. Basically, you're driving wedges in a series of holes and splitting the rock, Mohammed. I'd say this thing works pretty good in terms of efficiency for dealing with that rock. Definitely a lot faster than feathers and wedges. Definitely a lot faster than drilling a bunch of holes to weaken it. Yeah, this did really good. And I think one of those cartridges is about $1.75 or something, if I'm not mistaken.
Is, what's your labor worth when you're drilling holes? Not only the drill bits, but your time.
Yeah.
And then even if a drill bit lasts,
one of those boxes there.
Even if a drill bit lasts quite a while, your labor has got a value.
Yeah, of course. Now these are what they call boosters. The cartridge has the initiation system and a main charge. These just have a charge. And so if you need more power, you drill the hole deeper.
Put that up to the camera there a little bit.
You drill the hole deeper and you put 1 or 2 of those in there and then put the cartridge on top. And that allows you to get more power. And these are much cheaper. These are, I think, a little less than $1 each. So that's very nice to be able to increase the charge.
Inexpensive.
And again, according to the manufacturer, it's almost self-regulating too, because if you put more charge in it than you actually need, as soon as it splits the rock.
What just happened? I just lost that screen.
Oh, I hit the damn mouse.
Okay.
And so as the rock splits, it relieves the pressure, which slows down the reaction. So basically, it's kind of self-regulating. Not sure exactly what was going on up here. No, it's a 120 volt system. Takes about 200 watts per head. And you don't want a generator with a power saver mode where it detects a draw and then comes up to power, because that delay can give you you can kind of lose the initiator before it gets hot enough to actually initiate, that sort of thing. And
how many head system did you get?
We got a 2-head system.
Okay.
And we paid basically the standard price for the system. But then because he knows Chris and everything, basically got the drill bits for free
Wow.
and these weights for free.
Heavier heads.
Yeah, well, this is a screw-on weight.
Okay.
Okay, you can take this off of there, and so he gave me a significant discount on the entire system. What we got, so that was very nice of him, and I appreciate it. Okay, no delay sequence smoking. You can set off up to, I believe it was 8 heads. Let me get the. See, you have the main blast cable. Here's the initiator itself.
I'll put that up there a little bit.
And it plugs into 110 volts. Then it plugs into the blasting cable. It has a momentary on spring-loaded switch. So you pull it down or you can push it up. It goes either way. And that makes your connection. This I thought was really cool too. This is a little pump
Yeah, to blow the holes
for
out.
blowing out your hole. Very
Clean out-
nice.
Clean out your dust.
Yeah. And then you have the blasting cable, and at the end you have this distributor. And it takes the power through the cable, does it to 2 circuits. But then, and this is a nice thing, I'm kind of, I'm pretty pleased with the quality of everything. In terms of they seem to have tried to make it durable and everything. It looks pretty good. So anyhow, from the distributor, you could take 2, I don't know, lead cables. I forget the name they call them. These go to your heads, and you have 2 ends on it. And notice I got a strap that stays on the wire. Now this end goes into the head. You notice it has these little push connectors. You push it down, stick your wire in, and release. So that's how you hook up your cartridge. And it goes goes right in here, and you push that in, and this protects it, and then you rotate this blast shield. That's what I was making sure I put in place when I knocked over the camera, you know.
They're not sequenced, Jeff. They just, when they go off, it all goes.
It's all
Yeah,
instantaneous.
whether it's 2 heads or 1 head or 4 heads.
Yeah, there's no delays.
Yeah.
And if you're going to have more than just 2, here, you want to hold this?
Yep.
See, there's the distributor. And wrong end. Stick this end in there, and then you get another
head. Basically.
Another head, and stick it in here.
Yep.
And you can stack 4 on each side.
Oh, so you could go to 8 heads.
You can go to 8 heads at once.
Wow.
Exactly.
Okay, that gives you some latitude.
Yeah. And the distributor there, you'll notice it's not symmetrical, so you can't plug it in the wrong way. Then these are little lanyards, and you hook it to an anchor. They even give you an anchor, by the way.
Hold that up, show where you hook that.
Exactly, Jeff. They're spaced differently, so you can only get it in one way. What's supposed to be connected at the same time? 8. And this is the lanyard, and it'll come on. It hooks to the head like this. The other end hooks to an anchor provided by the manufacturer, even a drill bit so you can screw it into the rock. So that when the rock breaks and when the explosion goes, if this tries to come flying away or whatever, this will kind of keep it under control. Especially when you have a system where, like we got a
Hanging on the side, yeah.
150-degree hole, 150-foot hole down there.
Yeah.
And you really don't want it to go down there. And I don't know what's going on there. And when you push a charge in the hole, this is the stemming. That's the whole thing. That is the stemming. It's inertial. It just stays there because of the weight. And it seemed to me like they've done a fair amount of effort trying to figure out how to make it work safely, as idiot resistant as possible.
It looks like a great system.
Yeah. And I say it's done pretty good. The one thing that Eva suggested too, and Chris confirmed, is once you lay your wire in this groove, if you put a little tape around there, it doesn't have much tendency to come out anymore. When you're trying to hook up your terminals, as you take the wire and bring it out, it likes to flop right out.
Yeah.
So by putting a piece of tape there, you can avoid that. The manufacturer says he usually just makes the terminal connections first, runs it down, and then holds it while he sticks it in the thing. But as he says, he's usually working on surface instead of hanging on a ladder.
Right,
so.
hanging, in a hole.
Yep. And let's see. Yeah, and the video shows you can take this and actually, if you pull it up into the hole, you can shoot it even when it's pulling it up. Now, obviously, you can't use water for good energy conduction that way, but yeah. Is there enough room between the rod and rock? Put a wedge in there. You don't need to put a wedge in anything once it's in place. It's keeping the wire in the groove while you're inserting it that was the problem. Once it's inserted, it's a done deal. Hi, blind dude. Yeah, I like bigger bangs. But this doesn't require a permit. And a lot of times it's not the technical issues, it's the regulatory issues that determine what you're going to do.
Yeah, a lot of times it's the regulatory. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's part of why we don't do anything in the United States anymore, is the regulatory.
Exactly. Now, on the other hand, in other countries, these artisanal miners and stuff, they do all kinds of crazy stuff. Yep. With some care, tubing, squeeze bottle, and putty, you can still shoot wet at any angle. Yeah, but do you need to? Just more explosives. I haven't tried a stump remover like you're talking about. This was used specifically on a small amount of rock. I don't know if you've seen the video I posted today. It was so hard that my big demolition hammer could not break it up. And so that is why we went to this. It was in the way. It was causing us problems. I couldn't break it up with the big demolition hammer. I've got pictures of it where I'm hitting it with the demolition hammer and it's just sparks along the front edge. By the way, when you start drilling it, you get the same thing at the front of the drill bit too. When you first start it, you can see it. Sparks just fly everywhere.
Oh. Must have a lot of iron in it or something. Huh?
Yeah. And it's mostly quartz, but quartz will do that. And you want to have some fun sometime, get some bull quartz boulders on a dark night, and just throw them against each other and you'll see them glow.
Yeah.
It's just a little flash. Oh, Tim, I hope you're in North Dakota.
So easy in North Dakota to use.
Yep. Okay, Mohammed. And so anyhow, let's say it seemed to work pretty well for what I needed to do.
Yeah.
I'll see what I can do. You're the second person who suggested cool the bits anyway.
Yeah, I would do definitely. Just even in concrete, those bits will last a lot longer if you wet them once in a while and keep them cool. You can drill and drill. You can drill half the day in concrete.
I will give it a shot.
If you're not doing that, pretty soon, there's another bit that's no good for now. I mean, if you have a grinder there and you can sharpen them a little bit,
yeah,
great. But that isn't always the case.
Well, it's also tedious as
It's
hell.
a pain. It's a
Yep.
pain.
Yep.
It's easier to do that when you're at home and have nothing else to do. Sharpen bits and get prepared for the next attempt.
Well, I was glad Aaron gave me so many drill bits.
I know you can order like 18 at a time, like a whole box of them. That's probably the way to get them.
Well, he's going to send me one too. It's from a new manufacturer from, I think it was Germany, but it's supposed to be a really good bit. And I'm going to try it on my stuff here. So I'll do kind of a drill bit trial.
And there you go.
Because he also gave me two different kinds, the cheetah and the standard. And the cheetah bit apparently has a harder carbide, but it tends to chip when you get in really tough stuff.
Right.
And so
No,
so I say I'll do some experiments. Again, that's something I can do in the wintertime.
yeah.
I'll try and remember this time when we go up there to get. There's one really big one. It's about this. I mean, this thing weighs like 70 pounds.
You should have brought a test rock home so you can have it back here to play with.
Yeah. And so anyhow, I say it seems to do the job. Luckily, I don't need it to do the job very often.
Right.
In terms of production, using the system that we're using now, we're getting between 1 and 2 tons per shift production.
And that's within your.
Yeah, Lincoln, it is. It's a small Hilti demolition hammer. It's a 7. I forget what it is. I think it's a TE7, but I'm not sure. But yeah, it definitely has. It's a hammer drill. The nice thing is too, you can also turn the rotation off and you can use it as a smaller hammer. I got a chisel point to it. So what do you call it? When I need to kind of be a little more delicate carving stuff, I can do it. That Hilti is not a delicate tool. Yeah, it's also a chip hammer also. You can put a chisel bit on it. So let's say you can use it for more delicate work, or if it was softer rock, it would still move a fair amount of material. And that little baby Hilti we got, only $300.
Yeah. They're not bad.
It's not bad. Now the next size up is 1,000.
You start burning them up on a generator if you're not careful. That's the only thing to be leery about.
Well, that big Hilti I've got, they said 10 gauge cord, not more than 100 feet.
Yep.
And right now I can have the generator down by the road and run the cords up and all the way down to the working platform we're on with two 50-foot cords. But later on, we're going to have to move the generator up the hill.
Yeah, come up to the hole.
Absolutely. Yeah. But anyhow, so that's how the Sierra Blaster went, and say the drilling is an issue that I'd like to improve on, and everyone seems to think I can.
Yeah.
And the groove part, for those of you who didn't see, I was having trouble getting the wire in the groove, specifically in this part up here where it's got the threads. And I couldn't even push it in with my fingernail really. But this afternoon, when I put a cartridge in there. What do we do with that cartridge we had laying around? Is it back in there?
Leave it back in that tray again. Is that it?
Could be. Yeah, it looks like it's sticking out more than usual. So to do the cart, you take it out, grab the wire here, and then straighten the wire out. Let's see if I can get this over here where everyone can see. Now you take the wire, line it up with the groove, and put the cartridge in. And you should be wearing safety glasses because if that thing were to go off for any bizarre reason, you want to protect your eyes. Oh, that might have been the problem too.
Twisted.
Well, no, it's asymmetrical. It's got two wires side by side
But
and it's not
flat.
round. So then you just put it in the groove. See how that spot there? It doesn't want to go in.
Yep. Got a little twist going to it.
Got a little twist to it. Yeah.
I would do it.
So that seems to be probably what was my issue. Ah, come on. See how it likes to just fall out? There we go. Okay, so that's one of the issues there. And then when you get it all the way in, take a little piece of tape, tape it in place.
It makes sense to me.
See, now it doesn't want to fall out at all.
Right.
So when you're doing all this stuff,
Right. The wire will stay there.
it's not a problem, you know? So anyhow, that might have been the issue. Is you've got to get it turned a particular orientation to get it in the groove. You see, I got such lousy eyes, I couldn't even tell that it was flat or round.
I did offer to use my eyes, and you.
Yeah, I was pretty upset. I was very
frustrated.
I was very annoyed. Sometimes
Yeah.
Eva puts up with a lot of crap.
I did offer, and when he bit my head off and crapped it down my neck, I decided to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so that may be the problem that I was running into.
I'm expendable, Mr. Lodak. That's all.
You've got glasses on.
Yeah.
So anyhow, yeah, we put that back in.
Alrighty.
No, it wasn't, David. I've got no excuses whatsoever. Oh, that's a good one, David. Not supplier, the applier. Yep. If you put the Scotch tape on up here, then that's where the hole is. And so it's got a fairly tight fit there. That would be a little difficult. Up here is never in the hole, really. So not a problem.
Yeah, I think that's
Hello, Thalia.
Hi, Talia.
But anyhow, so that's another thing we just learned. It's a flat wire and it has to go in a particular way to get it in that groove.
Yep. The
Yep.
orientation matters.
Yep.
So that may have been your issue that you just weren't seeing.
Jim, can you use that out on plaster stuff on the tumbler boulders? Do you have a problem with those?
I haven't because I'm using big equipment, but I can see having this system could be pretty handy for even taking out the neighbor's patio or something, you know, or the steps on
Well,
the back of a house or
maybe. I mean, a patio's too thin really
Yeah,
for that because you
but
got to have
like-
5
like
inches.
you know, you like steps
of
or
insertion.
big concrete or something. I could see breaking it up real quick.
Yeah. Also, if you were trying to like put in a foundation, and you had a
had a
chunk of
boulder,
rock
you know,
sitting
had
there.
a boulder
Yeah.
coming through or some bedrock, I
Yeah.
can see it being a handy tool.
Yeah.
And it's, price wise for what it is versus calling somebody and having them come in and blast something.
Oh, geez.
I mean, that would be a couple $1,000 just to have them show up versus this.
Well, and it's a lot more dangerous because when you're blasting with standard explosives, you're going to have a lot more potential for fly rock.
Yeah. Well, the guys who do it though, they know what they're doing usually. Can set the charge
Well,
correctly.
I think this thing could have all kinds of interesting uses in terms of
Well, I think
exploding small things.
I think it has a lot of potential for use.
I see. Another advantage of this over expanding grout,
Yeah, that's a time.
if you were trying to use expanding grout, well, you also need a bigger hole.
Oh yeah, you got to drill
So
pretty
think
good size
much
holes.
bigger
Yeah.
drill bit,
Yeah.
much bigger drill.
Yep.
And then you pour it in and then you wait a half a day.
Yep.
And say
Or
that
overnight. Yeah, it's a time issue with
Yeah.
expanding grout.
this is just drill a hole, set it in, pop, continue on. If we hit harder rock down there, then we could set a series of them across the face and
pop it.
peel
Yep.
it off, but it would have to be higher grade, not because of the cost of this, but because of the slowdown in production.
Right.
Your labor cost per ton would just skyrocket.
Yeah. But in mining, you do have that. Sometimes you got to move something to get to whatever it is you're going after.
Okay, Terry. Let's say I've never tried it down there. We'll see.
Yeah. Exactly, smoking. Okay, time for the real tools.
Yeah. Well, and again, in our case, it fulfills a need. Now, the pack rat structure has some pretty hard rock in it.
Mhm.
And so we might have to use this a lot more in the pack rat structure than we would in the perpendicular vein.
Now
But-
you have the tool.
Yeah.
Now you know what you can advance to.
Also,
next tool.
they took this down with blasting, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And so close to it, this rock's been tenderized here.
Fractured in a little bit.
But as we get farther and farther away, as this gets
Right.
thicker, this is going to get
Maybe.
more and more undisturbed.
Yeah.
And so it'll be tougher. And so overall, I'm favorably impressed with this. It seems to do the job pretty well. It's fairly easy to use. The wire broke, I'm sure, because it wasn't in this slot properly. And as a matter of fact, we just found out while you were gone, the wire, it's two wires next to each other. And if you don't get it edgeways and keep it edgeways all the way down, if it gets a twist in it, it won't go in. And that's probably what was causing my problem. But if that wire is not in the groove, when you stick it in, it's going to be between the steel and the rock.
Rip the
It'll
wire.
get caught and it'll rip. And it's so frustrating because it's like less than an inch from when it was fully seated, it just went kind of, and you could hear the wire
Pop or
tearing.
slip.
You know, it's like, oh, that didn't sound right. You know,
Yeah.
but it just held for another inch. That would have been it. And then it would have been mining and everything would have been a lot less stressful. But oh well.
Well,
Eva would have been a lot happier
If
too.
you had just allowed me to use my eyes and think about it for a few minutes, things would have been.
Possibly,
yeah, just
but
cautious playing with new tools.
But that's okay. That's the thing, is he hates to share his toys when he gets new toys.
yeah, that would be really good for that. Assuming that you can get away with it. Doesn't make much noise. Definitely less than a gunshot. Absolutely.
Pop.
Yeah, a nice polite pop rather than an earth-shattering kaboom.
Mhm,
I
yeah,
wanted an
I know.
earth-shattering kaboom.
Yeah, playing with that dynamite and stuff's kind of fun.
A multimeter would have checked it, but you do not want to use a non-blasting test meter because it can send too much current through and cause initiation. It was one of those situations where it's like, what's done is done. I can't undo it, so I might as well just try and shoot it and see what happens. I was pretty sure that first one was not going to go. I was pretty sure the second one wasn't going to do much good. But again, there's not much I could do. But that's
you're learning too.
Yeah,
So.
I say, and then after the last one, me walking away down the hill, that's exactly what it's like. Okay, that's it. Not today. Yep.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Eva is the best gem of the mine. Yeah. Mostly the sound of the rocks. The one that I shot, you could really hear the ladder track ring. I think that was the loudest noise, maybe. Certainly the one that lasted the longest in time. Yeah, and Chris is working with the manufacturer to try and provide a little more,
safety
testing and
protocol
such.
or
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I had to do. According to the manufacturer, this has to be stuck in 5 inches. Now, I'm not sure exactly why and everything else. I'm presuming, first of all, if it's like this, you're going to tend to have rock blow out.
Right.
It can also mean that this will tend to fly more. But the manufacturer said 5 inches. And with the other one in there, I couldn't, and put a new cartridge on it, I could not get the 5 inches of insertion of the rock.
You could stem it with a big pile of clay.
Well, that's why I put the carpet and everything. That's eventually what I did do because I ran out of options. But that's why I didn't do it initially. That would have been my first inclination. If the hole would have been a little deeper, it would have just been real simple. But I was also trying to hold the hole as shallow as possible because there's probably a crack behind the rock too.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't as difficult as it looked because it was, my feet were only about 2 feet above the platform that I could stand on. So it wasn't too bad. It wasn't ideal, but I've had to deal with a lot worse stuff in construction.
Yeah.
And mining. I'm not mining, mechanicking too, where you just can't get to it.
You need 1 more inch.
Yeah. And yes, and then both bombs, cartridge, but yeah, it would be a bomb. You could call it that. Yes, they both went off. That's what happened the 3rd try. That's exactly what I did. I put one on top and blew up the one on the bottom also.
That's a cool idea, Chris. You get into a soft spot.
Yeah, and I didn't have any of that with me either.
A can of rock putty is so cheap, and all you need is a bottle of water.
Yeah.
So you can mix it up, just to slurry it a little bit, dump it in, and let it. Yeah, and that hardens fairly fast. Give it a half an hour and seal that hole right up. That's a cool idea.
Yeah, I suppose you could say.
I'll have to start keeping that on hand.
Yeah. The boosters go underneath the cartridge. There's no room to go on top. The cartridge has the initiator. The boosters have no initiator. The cartridge is what initiates them. So the boosters go on the bottom. And so, as I say, it seemed to work pretty good for what we're doing. It would obviously have limited application if you were trying to fragment a lot of rock. That's where you go to blasting.
Go that big, yeah.
But yeah, that Hilti, that's the only thing that's stopped it yet. Although again, that bottom corner has got my eye. It's like, yeah, the Hilti's bouncing off that too. Damn it.
Yeah. It's great that it worked for you.
Yeah.
It answered your.
One of the things that gets your eyes when you've put the Hilti against it and sparks fly. It's like, oh, that's not good.
Oh boy, here we go. Long day.
Yep. So anyhow, that's what I was doing. Did you do anything useful this
No,
week?
not really. You know.
Oh,
I
man.
made some more firewood just because it was so nice out, and then I got in 3 more days of chasing elk around the woods that was totally non-productive. But I got to be in the mountains, so it's all good.
Yeah. Well, and the weather was great. When we were up there on Saturday, it was just beautiful. You know, it was like 55, 60 degrees. I don't like it too warm when I'm working hard.
No.
You know, I don't want to sweat.
No.
And
Yesterday,
it
I
wasn't
almost
windy.
felt like I was getting a suntan. It was so warm out there.
Well, Friday, you could tell it was just windier than hell. One thing that's kind of weird about Montana here is it'll blow hard at night.
Yeah.
Most places I'm in,
Right,
at night it dies down.
Normally it does here too, but the way these fronts have been coming in.
Yeah.
And I think you got temperature differences because some of the mountains west of here have snow on them. So you've got that warmer air coming over that colder air, and then it just, I don't know, it revs up.
What kind of rock it is? It's a quartz. I'm trying to see if I got any of it here, and I don't. I'll need to get some so I can show it to you.
Yeah, you need to bring a big chunk back as
Oh,
a test rock.
I got plenty. There's stuff out at the ranch too. Hey, Tricky, how's it going? It's a quartz, and it's moderately mineralized. It's running at the low end of high grade ore. Were you more successful than Jim in his elk hunting?
I hope you
smoking?
were, because one good thing is after, I don't know, 6 or 7 weekends now, I figure I've logged about 110 miles of walking, and it if nothing else, has been a really good exercise.
So anyhow, we haven't done any more testing on the resins, although because the solution was liquid out at the ranch yesterday, I was pumping it the pregnant through the resin, and then instead of putting it back into the barren tank, which could freeze,
Right.
I'm just dumping
Put
it
it
right
right
back on the tailings.
That's a good idea.
And so I'm just kind of rinsing the tailings and trying to get more out of there. And so I can do that as long as that stuff stays liquid.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm out there, I'll try tomorrow. I've still got 15 buckets of ore to crush up. Oh dear, Tricky.
Yeah. I hope you recover there.
Yeah, I've heard that ribs really suck
They're the worst.
because you can't stop moving them.
No, and there's not a lot they can do for it.
Yeah. They might be able to put some hardware on them. I've got a clavicle here. You can feel the screw heads right there. You can probably see them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I locked it together.
And I got kind of smashed under it was a soda machine,
A
actually.
soda machine.
We were moving it and it landed on me and broke my clavicle into a couple pieces there.
And
And
so next thing I know, my phone rings. And I answer the phone and I'm like, hello, Bear. And Bear says, I'm all right. And I'm like, oh no. Every time he calls and says, I'm all right, there is a body part involved somewhere. The time after that was the time he was being rushed over dirt roads because he had nipped off the end of his finger.
Oh,
We
well.
weren't
So I'm like,
rushing.
What's going on? He says, I'm trapped under a soda machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't trapped. Believe me,
Smacked though.
when I was underneath it, I was having trouble breathing. So as soon as they got it, the weight picked up,
Yeah, but that
I
pain.
exfiltrated as fast. It wasn't hurting right then. It was just kind of numb.
Yeah.
But I mean, I got the hell out from under that thing. And then I'm laying there. Are you okay? And it's like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And then I'm feeling it. It's like, no, I'm not okay. But the doctor, the orthopedist, said, well, we can do nothing and it'll heal by itself in 5 or 6 months and have a big thing there. Or we can put some hardware on it and, it'll take about a month. And I'm like, hardware? Oh, good Lord, that would be horrible. Yeah, coughing with cracked ribs,
Oh boy. Or
Yeah.
laughing even. Just anything. It just
sneeze, whatever. Yeah, when
Yep.
after Eva's surgery, boy, when she sneezed, it was followed by inarticulate sounds. Yeah. And I can understand
Thanks
why.
for being here, Lincoln.
So, yeah, that's not much fun. So,
Yeah.
anyhow,
I ripped my sternum right there up there one time.
What?
I grabbed a 5-gallon bucket of paint out of the pickup truck and I lifted it with one hand and I ripped the cartilage right up the middle of my ribs there. And talk about
well, that
hurt.
doesn't sound like fun.
Oh boy. And that took, I don't know, 6 months to heal.
Yeah. And yeah, she cusses at times, mainly at me.
Yeah, it was, I don't know, it was one of them odd things. I guess you think you're
Excuse
tougher
me.
than you are until it.
I am the lady and the very soul of diplomacy.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Don't call me ma'am. I'm not a senior citizen. I don't run a whorehouse.
I don't know, Chris. Mine seems to have healed pretty well, but of course the surgeons are the ones that took it apart. So I figure they know how to put it back together. And mine really didn't hurt that much.
Oh, mine hurt for a while there. You know, breathing hard hurt.
Of course, they wired it back together, so it wasn't really shifting.
Oh man!
But I tell you what,
Oh, ribs.
I was careful.
Rib cartilage are the worst.
Yeah. I'd say about 3 days after I got home, when I went into atrial fibrillation in the middle of the night, I was in the bathroom. I was having literally having trouble maintaining consciousness. So I just crawled back to the bedroom because I did not want to fall. That's for damn sure. Just my whole focus was get to Eva, wake her up, tell her I need help. And I'm sure that was really not exactly what she wanted to have after her. I'm sure she woke up really fast.
Well, remember when we had to drive you to the ER the second time at like 3 a.m? And because COVID, they wouldn't let me in, so I was out there in the car.
Drive to the ER the second time?
Yes, the first time you went in the ambulance.
Yeah.
The second time you were not doing well, and we took you in at like 3 a.m. in the car.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to look at the stuff you sent? I haven't, except for just
Chris
a little bit, but Chris has. Both decorification on both lungs. Not exactly sure what that is, blind dude, but it doesn't sound like a whole bunch of fun. That's for sure.
No, not at all.
I've been blessed with being pretty darn healthy my whole life.
Me too, except for the things I've done to myself.
Well, even then, I heal pretty quickly. I mean, I've had a commutated sternum. I've taken 2 fingers and shortened them a little bit. Broken wrist. Forget. Well, I took the rock to the shin the other day. Remember, but yeah,
I've taken.
Ever since I cut the end of that finger off, I have to express myself in shorthand. But yeah, it's no fun to get hurt or get sick. That's for sure. By the way, Dr. Campbell, who's always very careful not to get in trouble with YouTube, was looking at a study the other day. And if you plot COVID mortality against vitamin D in your blood when you first show symptoms, if your vitamin D is
Low.
good, there's almost no. They plotted zero mortality.
Oh, I believe that.
At a particular level, which is basically 4,000 to 10,000 units per day, will get you in that range. So that is one of the things you can do kind of proactively to keep yourself in resilient health. Yeah. So keep your vitamin D up.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not getting supplemented, you probably want to take some vitamin D supplement. I am. But yeah, it's frustrating when certain people decide that it's their job to decide what we can hear. That really annoys the heck out of me. The problem, Tricky, with pH of 13.5 is A, it'd be very expensive in terms of solution, and B, now the solution is really quite hazardous. Yeah, I know smoking. But I mean, like the other day I was working on stuff and I got splashed in the face with the solution. No problem. If it had been 13.5, oh yeah. Yeah, there'd have been a problem. You know, pH 10, not nearly so much.
Yeah, so you got some safety issues there you definitely have to deal with.
Mohammed, I don't know specifically. The powder charge in a shotgun shell might work. You'd have to drill a much larger hole, which causes other problems. But it's probably about that much energy. They say, and I quote, it's a 357 Magnum. See? 357 Magnum booster cartridge. Now, I'm suspicious that that is not coincidental. I think it's probably a charge of about the same size as the 357 Magnum, but I do not know. That's just guessing.
Well, you could mic it to see the size.
Oh, it's much smaller than that. I mean, that's not a 357. That's more like about a 25 caliber.
Maybe those are being packed in an ammunition plant or something.
I'm not sure exactly how it is. It's not my business, and I don't.
Interesting.
You know, but anyhow, pH 13 is lower limit. Yeah, to get the kind of conductivity you need, I would see, but that would be a problem in other ways. We also found our dissolution rate went down when we got up to about pH 11, 11.5. We were actually dissolving the gold slower than at pH 10.
And every ore is going to be different, depending on what's in the ore.
Good luck, Cherokee. He says 357 is just under 3/8 of an inch. Okay, so it's the diameter. I don't know about that, Mohammed. I don't know. First of all,
he's in Australia.
I think you're in Australia, aren't you? Just getting international shipping would be a bit differently. I say I don't know, but if you have a serious use for it, the two-head system that I bought, that was a little over $1,000 for the system.
Yeah.
But once I got it and I see all the what you might call custom manufacturing involved in the quality of the work, I don't have a complaint about it. I think that's reasonable. Because
it's a lot cheaper alternative to what the next steps are.
Yeah. And the other thing is it's not technically an explosive. And it would be very difficult. Oh, really? Can't even buy fireworks on Australia, huh? Well, hell, you can't leave your house anyway, probably.
Yeah, from what we hear.
Yeah, from what we hear over here, it's pretty insane over there. So, say we shall see. It's a very bizarre world we live in, and yeah, it can't hurt to contact the manufacturer and ask them about it. I wouldn't be surprised if they aren't selling them in Australia.
I agreed, Cherokee.
Yeah.
Something's going to have to burn down here soon.
I think Cherokee's talking. She lives in California.
Oh,
hi guys.
Dry.
Dystopian fashion shirt.
Actually, the name of that shirt is My Dystopia.
Yeah, the name of the shirt is My Dystopia. I love it. We may have noticed there's this like dystopian thing going on here at the moment.
It's called reality right now. Jeez.
You're gonna want to read comments. Nuclear is the only explosive. Everything else is ready to burn. Huh. Yeah, Chris, you have that shirt too. Great minds alike.
Well, actually, that's rate of burn too.
Just a very fast rate of burn.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at what's going on in mining.
Mohammed says, lovely hair lady is here.
Oh,
I
thank
agree,
you,
Mohammed. I think her hair looks beautiful.
Dwindling copper, zinc, and nickel stocks could shield prices from the Omicron impact. Copper, zinc, and nickel prices bounced back from Friday's Omicron-induced drubbing on Monday as worries about global stocks return. A new report from Capital Economics reaffirms the independent researchers' recent argument that metal prices will weaken markedly going into 2022 as China's economy slows, but says it's too soon to tell whether the new variant will add further pressure. Moreover, a new set of virus-related government restrictions would dampen demand. Capital Economics points out that supply could also be disrupted, and any negative impact on prices may be tempered, particularly at a time when stocks are at historic low levels. The copper price rose on Monday, recouping some of last week's losses fueled by the newly identified coronavirus variant. Yeah. With markets trying to gauge its severity and possible impact on economic recovery. Recovery? Okay, they can say that. Copper for delivery in March gained 2% on the COMEX market in New York, touching $4.38 per pound in midday trade before paring some of the gains. Copper stocks in LME registered warehouses declined to just over 80,000 tons, according to Reuters, and are about a third of the level registered in late August. Canceled warrants, metal earmarked for delivery, indicates another 15,350 tons is heading out. Yeah, I heard that early reports are it's even less deadly. It just happens to be more virulent, which is the way viruses and things usually work. LME aluminum advanced 1.4% at 2,650. Lead was up 2.2% to 2,318. Tin gained 1.6% to 39,280. And nickel jumped 1.4% to 20,185. So, yeah. Stocks are low everywhere. We may get more supply chain disruptions if people decide to react to the Omicron. And speaking of supply chain disruptions, those of you who live near ports, especially the West Coast ports, may have suddenly noticed that all the ships disappeared real recently and thought, yay. Well, yeah, there is still a huge ship pileup off the West Coast of America. The difference is the ships have been moved over the horizon so that they're out of the edges of the air quality zone for LA and surroundings. This is to lessen the negative impact on the climate. As of the other day, there were still 93 ships or more that were just floating around out there in the Pacific Ocean up to 400 miles away from port, going all the way down past Ensenada, Mexico, and up past San Francisco. And the new record high for offloading at LA is 18.6 days. Thankfully, the Port of LA is once again delaying the fines that they were going to put for containers dwelling in the port. This is a good thing. You know?
Well, they may
Little
stand
one
for air
sounds like
quality,
an
but I think it's
American
for
native
visible.
name, according to Muhammad.
What?
Little one sounds like a Native American name.
No, it's I don't know. I'm a John the Baptist. I tend to make nicknames for people. And when you see her next to me, you'll see why
Yeah,
she's
when you
little
see
one.
me next to him, I'm short. That's where that comes from. So if little one is short, if little one means short person, yeah, that's why. Okay. I am short. We all know this. Now, iron ore price is back above 100, despite Omicron variant fears. The iron ore price rose on Monday despite demand fears due to the new Omicron coronavirus variant. According to Fast Markets MB, benchmark 62% Fe fines imported into northern China were changing hands at $103.27 a ton, up 6.8 from Friday's closing. Not bad. Shanghai stainless steel futures fell 2.6%. Affected by the new coronavirus variant, steel prices fell during the night session out of panic, GF Futures wrote in a note, adding impact on actual demand and supply of the metal could be limited. Analysts with Citic Futures also noted commodities prices could be pressured by the pandemic situation in the short term, but would be supported by easing property policy in China in the long run. The World Health Organization warned that deciding the severity level of the Omicron variant could take days to several weeks. However, in a side note here, according to Big Pharma, they'll have a vaccine in 100 days for this one. Yay. Good question, Resort Dog. I would say that both the price is up and the dollar is diving, but of course the Fed is kind of obscuring a lot of the data that used to tell you what was actually going on with the dollar. It is getting very, very difficult to find any data at all on this issue, as a matter of fact. It's bizarre. It's just absolutely bizarre. It's just a poof.
It's like, Trump's fault.
No data. The variant has been detected in Australia, Britain, Canada, Germany, and Hong Kong after it was first identified in South Africa. Meanwhile, a South African doctor said symptoms of the new virus variant were so far mild and could be treated at home. Cool. It can be treated at home.
Just like any other virus, it gets more transmissible, less viral over time. And we're not
Bear?
Yeah.
Adam says, I seem to figure it out. There's this lamproite deposit in Arkansas that I'm having to use to infer data for another deposit in Kansas. Still not sure if there's records for the Kansas one.
Chris may be able to help you on that one.
Yeah, Chris is playing rocket surgeon again, people. So ask him really hard questions. He likes those.
My head hurts.
So, will the anointed experts get it wrong again? This is a good question.
Pretty much guaranteed.
The emergence of the new Omicron coronavirus strain is roiling financial and precious metals markets, and investors fear government health officials will order new lockdowns to try to contain it. Never mind that previous lockdowns don't appear to have worked. Some of the most draconian were imposed by Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Her state now records the nation's highest 7-day rate of infections. The so-called experts who craft official guidance, such as Dr. Anthony Fauci, have been wrong at every turn. The list of things they've gotten wrong about COVID-19 would be too extensive to document here, but their credibility on everything from origins to effectiveness of masks, social distancing, and vaccines has been shot. All the while, the virus seems to defy all attempts to predict its upturns, downturns, and breakout variants. Back in the summer of 2020, when public health officials were ordering churches and schools closed and weddings and funerals were canceled, they endorsed mass civil unrest. We're not going to say who did the civil unrest. We all know this. The extent of which the riots helped spread the virus is unknown, but they helped unleash a record-breaking surge in violent crime that is still ongoing. Now the experts are worried a recent wave of organized looting sprees is being called looting. According to San Francisco's ABC7, experts caution the use of looting in describing the rash of Bay Area smash and grabs. Much of what gets pushed by the mainstream media as expert opinion is not grounded in sound science at all. The good news is, because the bias is more blatant, more people are seeing through it.
Hold on a second. Mohammed, I don't know. He just goes over other stuff. If that's the same Dr. Campbell, he seems relatively knowledgeable, but he doesn't have much opinion on his own per se. He just goes over other reports and peer-reviewed articles and things like that.
And yes, I agree, Resort Dog. The unrest was hardly civil.
And he hasn't said anything that I found to be odd.
The Federal Reserve has certainly lost credibility on inflation being transitory. The White House has lost credibility on the economy being strong. And Wall Street may lose credibility with investors if artificially high valuations do prove to be transitory. Markets are inherently unpredictable. Holding gold and silver bullion is a great antidote to the many threats currently facing financial markets. However, prudent investors should be skeptical even of experts who tout precious metals. If you're stacking gold and silver coins based solely on the price forecast of some guru, you may be doing the right thing for the wrong reasons. If the guru changes his forecast, will you suddenly change your investment strategy? While there may be a place in your portfolio for trading and speculation, the purpose of core precious metals holding is to protect against unpredictable events at all times, which is quite true.
It's pretty unpredictable right now.
All kinds of unpredictable things going on right now. At the moment, gold closed out at $17.89, which is not half bad at all. Silver closed out at $22.95. So let's take a look at an after-hours report from Kitco here. Dollar strength in a U.S. stock rally results in gold closing lower as Omicron variant fears lessen. Now, it should be noted that the stock market had its biggest sell-off since 1931 on Black Friday. Go figure. How bizarre. It was a combination of factors that led to gold futures closing fractionally lower on the day. After Friday's 900-point decline in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, all three major indices staged strong comebacks in trading today. The S&P 500 gained 1.32% or 60.65 points and closed at 46.55. The NASDAQ Composite gained 1.8%, and the smallest percentage gain was the Dow, gaining 236 points, closing at 35,000, etc. The dollar index gained 0.1% and closed at 96.45. The strong recovery in U.S. equities, coupled with marginal dollar strength, pressured gold to a low of lower 1779 before recovering. So, unquestionably, today's fractional decline in gold was a product of a return to the bullish risk-on sentiment, which quickly recovered from Friday's dramatic decline. Friday's sell-off was based on the concern for a new Corona-19 variant called Omicron. Last Friday's trading session was minimized, with all major markets closing early for Thanksgiving's extended holiday weekend in the United States. However, even with a shorter trading session, market participants had time to react to the news of a new COVID-19 variant that was detected in South Africa. The variant triggered a worldwide sell-off in global equities on Fridays, as countries such as the United States, Canada, the European Union, and Britain all put in place travel restrictions from many countries close to South Africa. The concern of the new variant is based on the fact there are dramatic differences between COVID-19 as well as the other variants. Lawrence Young, a virologist at Britain's University of Warwick, said the new variant of the COVID-19 is very worrying. It's the most heavily mutated version of the virus we have seen to date. Currently, the major pharmaceutical companies who develop the vaccines for the COVID virus are testing to see their vaccines offer protection against infections of this new variant. Estimates to gauge the effectiveness of the current vaccine to the new variant will take a few weeks. Still, the major pharmaceutical companies have stated they can effectively produce a modified vaccine to combat the variant by January of next year. Technically speaking, it appears as though gold pricing has shown strong signs of consolidating at this lower price point below $1,800. Over the last 3 trading days, gold has traded with a fractionally higher low. However, there's only one instance over the last 3 trading days in which gold traded to a higher high, which was Friday. Friday's trading activity was the net result of the knee-jerk reaction to the COVID-19 variant. Gold futures traded to an intraday high of $1,816 before settling lower at approximately $1,786. The key point to focus on is 1,785, which is based on the 78% Fibonacci retracement of the last leg of this rally, which began on November 4 and concluded on November 16. If we look at the low of November 3, which is 1759, to the high achieved on November 15th at 1879, gold had a $120 price range and gains just shy of $100 during those 2 weeks. Currently, major resistance occurs between 1800 and a key psychological price point and 1804.60, the current 61.8% Fibonacci retracement of the most recent leg of this rally. If gold continues to trade lower, the next real support level occurs at 1758. This is according to some of the experts. I find it interesting that the experts are still talking the lower price while the banks have pretty much accepted that gold is going to end up somewhere around 2,500 within the next year. So we shall see what happens with that. We shall see what we shall saw, so to speak. So let's see what else is in the news that I can actually tell you about. If you happen to drink coffee and you like Arabica coffee beans, you better stock up because they're looking at 2 years of severe shortages for coffee beans. The largest plunge since 1998. A combination of various weather events now and upcoming forecast weather events dealing with El Niños, La Niñas, and derechos is going to be impacting the coffee growers for the next year, the next growing season, and it vastly, very badly impacted them for this growing season. So for those who like coffee, stock up on your Arabica beans. Personally, I don't drink it. Never did see the point. Though I do like roasted coffee beans dipped in dark chocolate. Those are a very nice treat if you haven't tried them. I will say that. And the Salvation Army is backpedaling on their comments about how Christians are supposed to apologize for certain things. I don't think it will help their donations. If anyone's interested in that, they might want to go to Zero Hedge or Breitbart. I believe Breitbart might have mentioned it as well. But it was rather bizarre coming from the Salvation Army. Many things are bizarre these days. Okay.
Hey, Truth Seeker.
Hi, Truth Seeker. How you doing?
They're working on it, blind dude.
Green technologies have a glaring problem of scale.
Yeah.
Really? You know, I did not know that. Let's find out about that. In the context of the massive attention paid to climate change,
Ooh, you did that
nations
well.
around the world have committed to substantially reducing and even eliminating carbon emissions by 2050. Achieving these goals relies on several green technologies that would form the basis of a future energy system. As envisioned, mass deployment of these technologies will encounter fundamental physical limits that call into question their ability to function as replacements for their equivalents in the current energy system. By placing firm targets, nations around the world have committed to terminating their carbon dioxide emissions by 2050 to offer confidence that a better world is achievable if only society implements the right policies and employs the right technologies. This assumption is inaccurate based on a view that is at odds with nature. Really? The left is at odds with nature and science? Preposterous. Balderdash. I am boggled and gobsmacked.
Math is racist. That's why.
Well, obviously. We
Okay.
all know this. I mean, that is a given, Bear. You know that.
It won't on me, blind dude.
Due to unavoidable physical constraints, future green technologies offer little promise for achieving economies of scale. Many of the improvements suggested to improve their performance remain marginal and frequently come with environmental costs of additional embedded energy requirements, extensive land use, and greater material complexity. The outcomes achieved under laboratory conditions are not guaranteed to be viable at the scale necessary for them to make a significant difference. Efforts to improve energy efficiency remain essential, but those efforts are not likely to reduce aggregate energy use. The vehicles and appliances of 2050 will likely be more efficient than those of today, but precisely because of their greater efficiency, there will be many more of them. Under almost any scenario, Global electricity demand will increase between now and 2050, and meaningful reductions in carbon emissions will need to come from changes in the primary energy supply. The technological vision implied by national pledges for a carbon neutral 2050 assumes that future societies will be able to 1. Harvest nearly all the energy society uses directly from renewable natural sources, sun, wind, currents, waves, vegetation. 2. Store large amounts of electricity over long periods. And 3. Collect carbon dioxide molecules from mixed gases and dispose of them. A further implied assumption is that governments and citizens will be willing to pay the costs of environmental externalities independent of their cost, including the cost of avoiding a predicted climate disaster. Technologies designed to capture the radiant energy of the sun or kinetic energy of the wind must accommodate the inherent randomness of these sources. Nature's tendency to favor disorder over order, i.e., the second law of thermodynamics, complicates the goal of extracting net energy from sources that rely directly on meteorological conditions. Moreover, the engineering devices deployed to convert these sources into electricity are subject to physical laws that limit their practical efficiency, actually converting solar radiation and moving air into useful energy. Centuries of searching for chemically compatible materials for a battery that can store significant energy, charge quickly, sustain many charge and discharge cycles, and do so safely and reliably have yielded batteries capable of powering appliances, but still not well suited to powering vehicles or electric grids. Today's electric cars use a considerable amount of energy to transport their own battery packs. Utility-scale batteries require massive capital outlays for equipment that offers hours, not days, of storage capacity. Huge economic rewards await those who can solve the technical puzzle of safe, reliable, energy-dense batteries, but so far this object remains elusive. Yes, Professor Hardrock?
Do you remember Anton was talking the other day about gravity batteries?
Yes, I remember Anton was talking about gravity batteries.
That was kind of interesting, huh?
That was very interesting, and people might also want to look up Tesla's work, the original Tesla. Tesla arrays are a fascinating idea. The technical problem of reliably removing carbon dioxide molecules from a mixed gas has been solved. Yay, we solved something. Nonetheless, the removal process requires significant energy that reduces the net amount of useful energy generated when burning hydrocarbons. After decades of research and development, removing CO2 from a post-combustion waste stream still requires 20 to 30% of the total energy generated under ideal conditions. Wow, that's pretty inefficient. Can we say nuclear? Yeah, we can say nuclear in a minute. Clever engineering can finesse technical challenges, but it cannot overcome fundamental forces of nature. The technologies proposed for meeting future carbon neutral energy commitments rely on manipulating materials and energy at increasingly microscopic scales. Typically, proposed technologies rely on employing sophisticated control systems or highly engineered materials that improve efficiency outcomes. However, even pilot-scale advances in green energy technologies may offer little proof of their success when scaled up to mass production and consumption, as the same strict tolerances and controlled conditions become more difficult to achieve. Which leads us to that nuclear power plant. Gates, that person, and a couple of those other people decided to base their new next generation natrium reactor. It's a natrium reactor. It runs on
Hi,
salt.
Jeffrey.
I believe they decided to base that in Wyoming now, at a site where there is a current nuclear power plant that is about to be shut down. You know, that's in its final years of life. But there are other nuclear options that are being explored, and one of them is the natrium cooled reactors, because they're supposed to be really good. So we shall see what comes out of that.
Yeah. In terms of the gravity battery, these guys are coming up with basically you pick giant weights up when you have extra power, and then let them go down when you need more, and like a 10,000 ton weight in a mine shaft and stuff, and it's interesting for energy storage. I still don't think it
will make
Successful
things work.
technologies may not succeed instantly and need to emerge over time, but their success cannot be forced by government fiat or mandates of 5-year plans. Widely diffused technologies generally exploit sound scientific principles that benefit the humans they're intended to serve. They offer economic benefit by adding value to goods and services consumers are willing to pay for. They rely on some scientific phenomenon that can be enhanced through diligence of engineers to innovate in applying it. For example, engineers have learned how to control how we burn fuels to create optimal conditions for efficient heat generation and heat transport in power plants, homes, and vehicles. The history of growth in digital processing and communication similarly relies on repeatedly exploiting basic principles in solid-state physics with greater and greater engineering skill. Confidence that green technologies can scale to dominate national energy systems remains based more on marketing claims than on demonstrated operational experience. I'm shocked. Really now. The national goals set for 2050 present a supreme technological challenge to reduce environmental fallout while raising living standards for billions around the globe. See, that's a mistake. This guy thinks they actually want to raise living standards for billions. That's never been part of the whole scheme. Okay? Neither rich nor poor nations can afford to invest in technologies that achieve questionable benefits at the expense of accessible, reliable energy services for the citizens. Technologies that do not scale are destined to remain boutique technologies, the purview of the rich, environmental activists, and politicians that seize upon them to make empty promises. No argument with his last line. Some argument with his naive belief, if he actually does believe it, that any of this is for our benefit. For those who wonder what these yo-yos are planning, you can go read the World Economic Forum's website, and you can go read the UN website. Agenda 2030
I couldn't see it.
is fascinating.
See how small that is?
The World Economic Forum's website is fascinating. And surprisingly enough, of course, everyone is calling them conspiracy theories. Now, how something can be a conspiracy theory when it is an international organization
And published?
and published on that international organization's website is something they have not explained yet. But okay, I'm just a tinfoil hatter. What do I know about anything, really? And yes, the supply chain shortages are continuing. Y'all better be keeping an eye on that stuff because things are getting very, very odd these days.
Thank you, blind dude.
Now, this is a rather interesting article that is on King World News that comes out of Tinfoil Hatland. Why has 675 tons of physical gold suddenly disappeared? Let's find out what this has to say. At a time when bullion banks should actually be increasing their exposure to physical gold, it seems like something like 675 tons has disappeared. So I asked myself, where is all that physical gold gone? Well, that is a podcast, and that podcast is available on King World News, which is a very interesting site that everyone might want to go check out. In the supply chain news, we went out today to buy Bear some colored t-shirts. Oh, joy, oh, rapture. We went out to buy colored t-shirts, which meant we actually had to darken the doors of ye old Walmart, okay? I don't like to go to Walmart very often. 6 months ago, when we went to ye old Walmart, there was not much in the way of supply of colored t-shirts in the multi-packs. In size large. There were lots of 2Xs and lots of 3Xs and a decent amount of smalls and a rather small amount of mediums, and the larges were nowhere in sight. And they were $14 for a package of 6. So today we head off to ye old Walmart, and amongst all the other empty shelves here, there, and everywhere, we went to look at t-shirts. There were lots of 2X and 3X, and there were some smalls.
See, this
there
is one
were
of the cheetah bits.
fewer mediums. There were next to no
It
large.
supposedly
The
has
ones
the
that there
heart of
were
the
in Fruit
griddle.
of the Loom were on an end cap.
Which
And
is why it hasn't
to my
been used.
surprise, The
They said,
t-shirts
don't use it.
were now $19.48 instead of $14.48. So in 6 months, they've gone up $5.
It's probably a harder carbide.
For the fun of it, I side-eyed the cost of my granny panties. Do you know how hard it is to find granny panties anymore, people? I mean, it's just ridiculous. Well, I side-eyed the multi-packs of
Terry's
the
getting
ladies'
excited now.
underwear, and the same thing had occurred. It is interesting to note. I am going to be watching these t-shirts very carefully to see how long they hold up to the bear. Because in the past, it's only been the underwear that has been a failure point. It has not been the t-shirts. But with the way things are
More
going
strain.
now, with quality control and the supply chain and everything, I'm going to be watching the t-shirts pretty darn closely. Everybody's having a conversation here. Yeah, so if you have an old shaft, you just keep sending heavy weights down, hooked to the gearbox and generator. Huh. I think that's a pretty good idea, actually. The gravity battery thing is pretty cool. But at any rate, yeah, prices are inching up around here. I went through my receipts and I looked over the grocery bills. And I'd say we've already come up about 14%. According to Shadow Stats, inflation's running around 12% right now, which doesn't surprise me. But I think we've all come to the conclusion that this is not transitory, which is why nobody is talking about it anymore. And we can expect these supply chain issues to continue to deteriorate because we're now seeing a much larger uptick in quality control reports across the internet. As in, you go read the reviews on people's websites, you read the reviews on company websites, you read the reviews on company websites on Amazon, and you read the front page of the internet, Reddit, and you discover that people are buying brand new products like Presto pressure canners. And those products are arriving with factory defects. And it's quite interesting to note that people said, on the rare occasion they'd had a factory defect from a company before, they contacted that company and that company fell all over themselves and offered them a refund, offered an exchange. Oh, we're so sorry about this. Now people are getting form emails and it's taking weeks and weeks to actually find out whether you're even going to get a replacement, get an exchange, get a refund, or get anything. So this is the other side of our supply chain problem beginning to rear its ugly head, which is one of the reasons I'm not buying new things right now. Gotta wonder about some of the new stuff out there, Yeah. Mohammed, according to Shadow Stats, which uses the old formulas for factoring inflations, the ones that included things like food and energy costs, inflation right now is running around 12%. According to the federal government, which stopped using food and energy costs and other things that people actually use in their inflation calculations, I think we're around 4 to 6 right now. And yeah, Roberts, eBay has increased their commissions. PayPal increased the amount of money that they are taking out as well. You'll see a lot more companies increasing the commissions that they charge for things. On PayPal, they increased the commission for instant transfers. So when you want to transfer money to your bank account, it's no longer like 2%. It's now 3% or something like that. Those of us who do get donations or do have Patreon or anything online have had to update our income tax information because we're going to be getting 1099s now. Yay, because any money you make over $600, well, yeah, that's because it's going to hurt the 1% a whole lot more than it's going to hurt us. We've all heard that. And yeah, Truth Seeker, from what I am seeing online, it's a combination of work ethic, employee shortages, and companies trying to continue to run at 100% constantly to try to eat up the backlog of orders that they have. For instance, All American canners during the height of the pandemic were on back order for 10 and a half months. If you wanted a new All American 921, you were going to be waiting longer than you wait to give birth to a baby. Okay. So I'd rather be waiting 10 and a half months for something and have it made right, especially if it's a pressure canner. But we had someone that just recently bought a Presto pressure canner online, and it arrived brand new in the box, straight from the factory, with a gauge that was not working properly. So, yeah, there's all kinds of things that are going wrong at the moment. Well, Mohammed, we used to calculate our inflation based on a group of X number of products that people use all the time. Things like food, electricity, gas, heating oil, paper supplies, things that everybody used is what the government used to use back in the 70s and early 80s to calculate our inflation rate. Well, when the inflation rate went into double digits last time, it did not look good for the politicians. So they went through and they created a new consumer price index formula that left out
The volatile
all
food
of
and
the
energy.
volatile sectors, the things like food and energy that we do use every day. So the new consumer price index is supposedly more accurate because it doesn't track stuff people use all the time.
Correct, Mohammed. It's all window dressing.
Yes, the change is meant to make the government look good.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Protect
Adam, a lot of
politicians
people
from
can't
gaining-
understand basic economics. We all know that one. You may have noticed that according to our Department of Transportation head, Buddy,
But
you
a
know,
judge.
yeah, the butt guy, the one that went
There you
on
go.
maternity leave for a couple of months when his partner and he acquired twins recently. He was saying the other day that if Americans just went out and bought electric vehicles, then none of us would have to worry about gas prices again. And he also said that this new Build Back Better thing is supposed to have a $12,500 credit in it so you can buy an electric vehicle, except for Teslas. They want you to buy Chevy Bolts because the Chevy and a lot of our politicians are very friendly with each other.
Good for you, Mohammed.
To which I told Bear, I'm like, the only chargers I have seen in this entire state are for Teslas. And guess what? There's no Tesla dealership in this state. In fact, there are no Teslas registered in this state. But we have Tesla charging stations. Oh, yeah. So, if we get that $12,500 tax credit, we can't very well buy an electric vehicle anyway. But that's kind of the plan here. The plan is to drive the gas prices up to the point where they can push these electric vehicles at a time when we have a worldwide magnesium shortage. We have major supply chain disruptions. We have a worldwide computer chip shortage that's scheduled to last 2 or 3 years. And everything that we need is floating around in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Well, not only that, but you'd have to
This-
build more energy sources to charge the.
Yeah,
cars.
I mean, if you live in an apartment building, unless you have a charger, you're screwed.
Well, no. I'm talking about generation.
Oh, yeah,
Some guy supposedly
don't
did the
even
math,
Don't even
and they'd have to
get
build like
into-
a nuclear power plant a month just to power the
now,
charging
Bear,
stations.
You know that these electric vehicles will run on unicorn farts and fairy dust. We all know this, okay? We're not going to worry about the generation. If you build the electric vehicles, the generation will come. This is like the field of dreams of green energy here.
Yep.
But that's where we are right now, is we are now at the point where our Department of Transportation head is actually saying in public, and the media thinks this is a great idea, that if Americans just switch to electric vehicles, none of us will have to worry about gas prices anymore. That is one of the brilliant things that has come out of the malarkey regime this week. I'm not even going to get into Lord Malarkey talking about how he spent more time than he wanted to in the Walmart across the street from his mansion. Mohammed, there's a joke around here that when something comes from imaginary or magical sources, that means it's powered by unicorn farts. That's the smell that comes out of a unicorn's rear end, and fairy dust.
Yep.
Yeah, and by the way, apparently Lord Malarkey wanders across the street from his exclusive mansion in Delaware frequently to troll up and down the aisles of Walmart. The problem with this is the nearest Walmart to his house is 5 miles away, and the comment was phrased in a very insulting manner to the CEO of Walmart just before Lord Malarkey turned the entire meeting over to some functionary and wandered off, staring at the ceiling of the building and saying, "Isn't this a pretty place?" On camera. Wonderful administration. Most popular president ever.
I'm so confident. in the
Later,
future.
everybody.
Oh, and Mohammed, when you were talking earlier, and I was typing the answers, one reason that I am very suspicious of the data and the statements, I actually go to original sources as much as I can to verify whoever. And Mohammed says, "Thank you, Eva." Because I don't trust the media. I don't trust politicians. I don't trust anybody to give me the truth if a falsehood is strongly in their philosophical or personal best interest. They're going to make money the other way or whatever. They have a tendency, they've got a motivation to lie. And a really good example of that was just recently we had a trial of a guy named Kyle Rittenhouse who shot 3 people at a BLM protest / riot situation in Kenosha. And I watched a lot of the trial. And then you compare it to the news reports and you're like, wait a minute. These are not only factually inaccurate, but it's not minor little facts. It's major stuff. And that is, I think, useful to educate people in how blatantly the media will not tell the truth. Well, let me not sure go lie, intentionally tell an untruth, not be mistaken, not be confused, but know specifically that they're telling a lie. Either that or they simply have no idea what they're saying and they're saying it anyway, which is incredibly irresponsible. But one that was really interesting, the prosecutor in that case, in his opening statement, said that Kyle Rittenhouse chased down the first guy that was shot. I forgot what his name is again.
Doesn't matter.
And then shot him in the back. When the testimony was that guy chased Rittenhouse down, and when he lunged for him and grabbed for his gun, that's correct, Joseph Rosenbaum. Rittenhouse fired 4 rounds in less than a second. It was 3/4 of a second. And as the guy fell forward, I think it was the last bullet, it might have been the third bullet, hit him in the back because he's going down and went through his chest and abdomen and killed him. And that's not what is it? This is Minor Jim here.
Yeah.
But anyhow, yeah, I agree. 4 more years. That showed an amazing amount of discipline there. Really did. But it just, let's say the prosecutor just flat lied to the jury. But then, yeah, it will, Muhammad. And then later on, the third guy he shot named not Rosenbaum, Grosskreutz. Okay. He originally had his hands up like this, and Rittenhouse was on the ground, lowers his gun. Then Grosskreutz, who's got a gun in his hand, points it directly at Rittenhouse, and Rittenhouse shoots him. And the defense attorney was questioning Grosskreutz because originally he said, I had my hands up when he shot me. And they showed him a picture, a still frame, that shows his bicep exploding at the same time he's pointing a gun directly at Rittenhouse. Like, okay, this is when the bullet was fired. We can tell by the exploding impact, and you're pointing a gun at him. And he said, so, Mr. Grosskreutz, when you had your hands in the air, Mr. Rittenhouse didn't shoot you, correct? Correct. And when you pointed your Glock directly at his head, then he shot you, correct? Correct. Okay, so it's pretty clear exactly what happened. The defense and the prosecution witness all agree. Grosskreutz pointed a gun at Rittenhouse, and Rittenhouse shot him. 2 days later, Grosskreutz is on, I think it was Good Morning America, and said, I had my hands in the air when he shot me. And the media didn't question him or say, Mr. Grosskreutz, that's not what your testimony said, was it?
Or the video.
And so, to me, that's a deliberate deception. They know that what he said is a lie. They're not challenging it. They're letting it go out there, and it creates hostility, which is bad. If somebody does something bad and that creates hostility, well, that's perfectly natural. But if somebody doesn't do something bad and somebody lies and creates hostility, that's a bad thing. So you have people even today that think that Kyle Rittenhouse drove across state lines with a weapon. He didn't. The weapon was illegal. It wasn't. He went chasing black people at a Black Lives Matter rally. He didn't chase anyone. He was running. And he shot 3 black guys. They're all white. These things are not in dispute. There's video evidence. We know who was shot. I say these are.
Get back to mining at some point.
I will in just a second. These are indisputable facts, and yet that's not what the media is saying. So when we're talking about,
he's had to withdraw from online classes.
Yeah. So when we're talking about things like COVID statistics and stuff, yes. Well, let's see. I'm sure they had some relatives or something, exactly. But when you're attacking somebody and pointing a gun at his head or hitting him over the head with a skateboard, I'm sorry. I think self-defense is there. All I'm saying is
Doug.
The facts are not in question, and yet the press is reporting things other than the facts as if they're facts. I don't trust them to be any more truthful about COVID than they were about Kyle Rittenhouse. I don't know what the facts are. Okay. I know that certain things look very unusual. The behavior of the government is unusual in this. And so I'm withholding judgment, but I'm suspicious that the situation is not what we've been told. Okay. I don't think they'll be able to hide it for much longer, if I'm correct. And if not, well, I was wrong. But yeah. Tim says, Kyle was a miner when he shot him, so it's sort of about mining.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So anyhow, that's what I'm saying about facts and media reporting and politicians. And this whole COVID thing is affecting all of us. I don't trust them, to be honest. So I am searching a lot of different information, going direct to sources. That's again, it depends on what facts you're given. if all you've heard is he was a white supremacist, of which there is absolutely no evidence, and I'm just saying my thing. He chased people down when he was running. He defended himself when other people said he just shot people for no reason. We're obviously going to have different opinions on what kind of person Kyle Rittenhouse is and whether or not there was justification there. So facts are important. And when it's something like COVID, where you've got tremendous implications, we really need to have the facts. And I don't think we're getting them. So it makes it difficult to say, what should we be doing? Don't know. We will find out shortly, though. So anyhow,
I think so.
In terms of mining, economic turmoil will generally drive the price of the precious metals up. And I think the consequences of the government actions taken in the name of fighting COVID, whether they were appropriate or not, are definitely going to have a tremendous economic impact. As far as I can tell, the supply chain has not bottomed out. It is still getting worse. And
Experts are predicting a 3 to 5 year recovery period if nothing else goes wrong.
yeah.
Well,
And so we have a situation where we're in a declining economic situation. We don't know when it's going to bottom out. We don't know how far down it's going to go before it bottoms out. We don't know what kind of social disruptions will accompany everything else. And therefore, I think the price of gold and silver is going to go up. If nothing else, just inflation is going to drive the price up because the value of the dollar is going down. Yes, I understand, Mohammed. It's a different mentality. Absolutely. Do you have citizen's arrest in Australia? I don't know. I know in most of the states you have citizen's arrest where a citizen can actually arrest somebody else, and it's a legal arrest under certain circumstances. When I was a security guard, that was my power to detain and arrest people.
right.
It wasn't because I was a security guard. I had special rights.
Citizens arrest.
I would just use citizen's arrest, and anyone can do that. And so I don't know if they have that in Australia, but it's definitely
Most states here do.
it's a radical.
Majority.
Even California does.
Yeah.
It's a radically different mindset, and say that makes it interesting to me because I like to see how other people think. Yeah, I can understand that, especially if the police and prosecution don't back you up. If it is a legitimate arrest and they don't, then it's going to be tough. But when it comes to mining, we're looking at buying substantial quantities of Eco Gold X. Once we're sure how much, what's the best resin, we're going to see about getting substantial quantities of that. And such so that we're kind of immunizing ourselves against critical supply chain disruptions.
Yep. And that's a good idea.
Oh, yeah. And there's nothing wrong with dialing 911. In many cases, it's by far the best thing. I was actually,
If they show up.
one time, I was awake in the living room and I heard somebody pull up in front of my house. And it's like, well, it's 3:00 in the morning. That sounds a little odd. And so I looked out the windows and somebody had parked their car next to my pickup truck with the lights out, but the brake lights were on, of course.
Yeah.
And I'm watching this and it's like, and then my dome light came on and it's like, Yeah, they're burglarizing my truck. Now I had a 12 gauge shotgun in my hand and a 357 Magnum on my hip at this time. All I had on besides that was underwear. But you have to use your brain. There's nothing in that truck, and this was a long time ago. It wasn't the minor Bago. There was nothing in that truck that was of any significant value at all. If I left the house to confront them, I would be in the light, they would be in the dark. If something happens and I do use the gun, even if I'm perfectly legit, my lawyer fees are going to be way more than 1,000 times anything I lost. So it made no sense. I called the cops. Half an hour later, they still hadn't showed up. So I called back. Turns out they were actually on the ball because they had caught the guys down the street burglarizing someone else's vehicle. And they get back to me in a bit. But yeah, I think you need to be very careful.
They said that they're no longer going to arrest you for a list of over 200 crimes.
We had a similar. I mean, it might have been. The Australian woman rang 911, got killed by the police. Absolutely, police are not perfect. That was a horrible situation. From what I understood of it, the cop didn't have any justification. He just got surprised. She was unarmed, and therefore he shouldn't have shot her. I mean, she walked up to the police car. Well, so, and the guy should go to jail. But
anyway,
I say you have to use your head in mining, in everything, in driving. Use your brain. It's snowing outside. Do you really need to drive to wherever? That looks a little sketchy. Should I really go in there? Should I take the time to catch it up, knock it down, or whatever? Use your best judgment to protect yourself, other innocent people, or whatever. There are certain times when getting involved is the only thing that's going to do any good. But you really have to think. And the law is an ass. Sometimes it makes no sense whatsoever. Yeah, blind dude. Yes, personal responsibility seems to be out there. I know on some occasions wearing a hard hat in your mind, sometimes not. Well, there are certain situations where actually I hit my head more with the hard hat and I can jam my neck. As we're getting more room now, that makes more sense. But like this last video, when you go up to surface and your hard hat blows off your head, it makes it kind of hard to wear it. I wasn't wearing anything, no hat, nothing. There are times you'll see me wearing a real fluffy warm hat. That's when it's cold. I'm trying to avoid hypothermia or frostbite. And it actually has a fair amount of cushioning. It won't protect you from a big hard object moving at high velocity. But guess what? When I'm moving around underground, I've bonked my head enough times. I don't move at high velocity. Yeah, I agree, Chris. They also make liners for the hard hats. I haven't got one.
I have some of them.
But you got liners too.
They're actually pretty comfortable.
She's also pretty, and in that case, we clear those rocks away. And even if she did, it would be about a fist size at the most. Yeah, I need to get a hat liner. Absolutely. Truth seeker, you don't need to be rude there. He looks at life differently if we try and talk politely. A lot of times we can educate people and come to a common agreement on many, many things. Yeah, smoking. Well, guess what? I was on a solid ladder, no more than 9 feet above the ground, and I had the roof jack across the tunnel as a handrail to prevent me from accidentally stepping over the edge. Yeah. Do you know how hard it is to go up and down a ladder like that with a harness and a rope on? Guess what? You get tangled in the
Don't
rope
bother.
multiple times.
Don't bother, guys. I tried. He was tying off last week because I wanted him to tie off.
Well, no, when
he kept tripping over the rope.
Yep.
Yeah, when I've got a platform this big, or if I'm hanging my feet over the edge or something like that, yes, that makes perfect sense. When I'm on a platform with a handrail, I've worked on roofs enough. You know, we were on that roof. Were we wearing harnesses?
No.
No.
But I did bring that up to Keith. I said, "Were you tied off on that hole?" And then he explained it to me, and I agree. Sometimes the safety equipment's more damn dangerous.
It can be.
It can be. Then, you know, it's definitely a situational thing that you got to make that decision and be aware of that you're making that decision. But
yeah.
Sometimes the safety equipment can be more hazardous for tripping and things than.
Yeah. And say, I would, you might not have seen it on the blasting video, but the next day if you see me, I had a harness on.
Yeah.
And I was using it intermittently when there was when I'm getting close to the edge and this and that, the other. As I say, you can see, but if you go back a couple of videos where I'm starting that, you'll see me wearing a harness and such. Once I established a good platform, not so much. And I've also worked on a lot of roofs where you learn, you don't step without looking. And another thing I will do in a case like that, I'll be on my knees with my toes right over the edge. And that's it, just barely over the edge. But what that is, that tells me where the edge is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That one, I'm not sure, Chris. That's a 55, 60 degree decline. I think you'd be making a lot of bumpy, bangy noises going down. I'm not so sure about the slidey part.
Yeah. Only sliding would be slamming off one wall and then the next one.
It is narrow enough that does help. You know, you might get a little more wedged in there, but yeah, it is so steep that, but that's why I put the roof jack across there. And if you look carefully in the video, see it's actually on the person's side of the drop off. So you'd actually have to stick your feet out underneath it to actually get them over the drop off.
Get past it.
Yeah. And so, as we get a larger and larger platform, it'll be better. We're looking at doing just that. Putting some
construction,
110 volt lighting in there and get it better illuminated. On the other side of the ridge, we've got some stuff in one of the lines over there that we can just strip out. Zinc precipitation for alkaline solution. Is there any advantage to reducing the pH from 11 to 6 before adding the zinc? I have no idea. Chris may answer that one.
That's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, all I know is if I knock a rock this big down that shaft, it doesn't stop. It just keeps going and going and going. I assume that's what would happen to me too. Although you might stop at the 40-foot level because there's a little bit of a drop to the platform there. And yeah, I've got, let's say I have rappelling rope, Jumars, all that stuff. And I do have them there. And say that particular thing where I was working well away from the edge, I wasn't too worried about it. But yeah. Let's see. Jim, load Gaia GPS and turn it on next LCONT. No GPS. Okay. But anyhow, yes, I do use less safety equipment than I should at times. I think more the dust mask is something I need to wear more often.
If,
I
yeah,
talked to you
when
about
you're
that.
working
Yeah.
with that real fine
Yeah. And
grit, but
and that decline, when the wind is blowing, it's coming up the decline. So
Right, so
anything
you-
you're doing is blowing it
blow
right up
right-
in your
yeah.
face. And of course, it's going to be the fine stuff.
oh yeah, that's the fines are what you're gonna, is gonna be the issue.
Yeah.
The coarse gravel isn't gonna be the issue.
And I say, so this is the sort of thing that up till the last one or two trips, it's been so tight in there and so narrow that, I mean, there was no room for anything. Even just this trip, it was so funny. The boss's son was in there doing some jackhammering, and I wanted to show him some technique. We got all freaking tangled up. I
Yeah.
mean, we're
Not enough.
you got a
room.
jackhammer, it's got an extension cord, it's got this, he's got the rope on, we turn, oh man,
Yeah.
we just all got tangled up.
It's,
Yeah.
you definitely want to take the safety precautions in anything you're doing. But
Yep. And that's another reason why when you're handling the Sierra blasters, you should always wear safety glasses. If for any reason that thing goes off, the way it would really hurt you would just be shrapnel to the eyes. Everything else would probably be superficial,
right,
unless you were
big,
holding
big
it.
bruises or something,
Yeah.
from getting hit. But you're right, your face.
Mohammed, that's a good question. No, she wasn't filming that one. It would have been pretty funny. But the other thing is, I mean, we're all going to die someday.
Oh yeah, no, there's nothing to fear there.
And so you have to.
You don't want to let that stop you from doing something fun.
You have to use good judgment. And sometimes you wind in a situation where there is no good way out. It's very rare, and it's usually because you screwed up a little earlier when you could have used good judgment.
Yeah.
And now you're past the point of no return.
Yeah.
And that's, then you just got to bite the bullet. And yeah, it is amazing how many times you almost get hurt compared to how many times you do get hurt. The problem is sometimes you don't just get hurt, you get really messed up.
I'm with you, Goldstream. If that's how it ends, that's how it ends, unfortunately.
Well, Eva doesn't approve, but my plan for many years was to die from the 12th cheerleader at my 100th birthday party. It seems unlikely, but you got to have a goal. But yeah, sometimes I do wear less equipment. Eva tries to remind me, the claim owner.
Yeah, he doesn't want you.
Well, no, I mean, he cares. And he's
I
like,
remind him every weekend. And he puts his harness on and he uses it when he feels it's necessary. And then he forgets to take it off. And when we come home to go to dinner, he sits down and he's rattling from all the things on it. And he's like, dang it.
Yeah, I know.
Yep.
It's
but again, I'm wearing the harness so that when I need to, I can clip on right quick.
Yeah.
I have a Jumar on a rope hanging there.
Yeah, click.
And so I can just clip it on, adjust, do what I need to do, and then, unclip whenever. Does Jim have a tape in the near future plan? Not unless it's looking for elk.
No, that we're going to skip that one. I'm not very good at that, I guess. I don't know.
There's a tree, there's a tree.
I thought I might try to put kind of an educational part together, a little more detailed than what we do some nights here. But we'll see. I mean, at some point, I do want to go into a real deep mind planning and things to think about.
Didn't you bring some?
I did, but I think we'll keep it for next week. It's
Okay.
getting late enough. And as far as even mine financing, a lot of people, that's something a lot of people ask is, well, how do you do this? You know, when you're trying to get it structured to either pull in a bigger company to kind of take over the financial side of it, or to go out and actually get investors to move ahead with the project that you're putting together. And that's an area that you don't hear a lot about, and it's hard to find a lot on the subject. So I thought at some point that might really make a pretty good video, is financing a mining operation.
And Goldstream, that's simply amazing. Little one. Goldstream says, I had a nice little cake fight one day, 4 days in the hospital for that. That's a good story somewhere.
A cake fight?
A cake fight.
Okay.
That sounds.
Why are you fighting cakes? Cakes usually aren't
They
aggressive.
must have been throwing them at each other.
By the way, how many
I'd
people?
have to worry if somebody made a cake that was hard enough to injure you when you threw it at somebody else.
The other one thing I was wondering, how many people you noticed Eva's Marvin the Martian imitation on that video, and recognized where it came from? And Mohammed, the previous tapes were boring but great to watch. Not only half a gram every gallon of dirt. A lot of it is just tedious. Absolutely. I kind of like breaking and moving stuff, but yeah, it can be tedious.
Join the club, Mohammed.
Nope, that's Marvin the Martian from
way back.
36 explosive space modulator.
Yep. Yeah. Chris said, yep, I expected that even before I saw it. And that would make sense. You know Eva pretty well.
Where's the kaboom?
Yep. And, but yeah. Life can be fun. She was just doing a more extended version of the quote. It's from Bugs Bunny cartoons. Marvin the Martian is trying to obliterate Earth because it was in the way of his view of the stars or something.
No.
Okay, she's going to do it.
Oh, I'm going to blow it up. It's obstructing my view of Venus. So then Bugs Bunny is like, okay. And he starts to walk off and he turns around. He's like, what the heck? So then he goes to this machine made by Acme, which is full of these nice little yellow pellets. They're dehydrated Martians, just add water. So he starts adding water to the dehydrated Martians, and they're marching all over the place. And he stole Marvin's dynamite, his little Illudian Q-36 explosive space modulator, so that Marvin couldn't blow up the Earth. Excellent cartoon.
Anyway.
But anyway, yeah. That was pretty fun. It was kind of a frustrating afternoon, and Eva showed a lot of patience, but yeah.
You need patience to deal with you. Everyone should watch Bugs Bunny.
Yep.
Excellent stuff.
So anyhow, wow, we've gone from mining to Marvin.
Man, we're everywhere tonight.
Yeah, I would say safety equipment. Safety glasses can interfere with your vision. They can save your vision. I usually do not wear earplugs because my ears haven't shown that much damage, and things like when you're jackhammering in fairly soft rock, it's not that loud.
No. But it's just the repetition after a time that.
Yeah, pretty much, Mohammed. And so I don't usually wear earplugs. I should wear my dust mask more often.
Yeah.
I should wear safety glasses more often. The hard hat, it's usually pretty good, but sometimes I slack off on that too, and I shouldn't. In terms of the harness, that I'm pretty conscious about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, when I'm doing it, and I'm making a conscious decision, yes or no. The rope will be hanging there. And one reason I didn't do it when I was doing the blasting was I didn't want the rope and the equipment hanging there where they could get potentially damaged. And by the way, while Eva was doing her report, I checked the blast heads and the cables, and it turns out the problem is the wire, two wires next to each other, and they need to go in the groove like that. So that's what I was doing wrong. Once I did that, it worked fine. So I don't need to.
That would have been corrected if you had allowed someone with eyes.
Yeah, I say, but if we hadn't been that late because somebody sleeps in till noon, yeah, I wouldn't have been as stressed.
I didn't sleep until noon. I slept until 10.
Yeah, what time did you actually say, okay, I'm ready to go now?
At about 11:30.
You do it. I don't know about you. I do it for the challenge. It's just a puzzle.
I don't know. It's a challenge and it is a treasure hunt.
Yeah.
But I think part of it's the community of people I've met in mining have been really, really fun to be around. And the fact that you get to spend a lot of days like we do in some of the most beautiful country in the world, hiking around and digging in holes and looking over the mountain and watching the sun go down. And there's a certain level of peace to it that you can't buy.
Well, my office has a great view.
Yeah, that's my favorite saying, is the view from the office every day there is hard to beat.
And there's a certain
and no, it's not easy, Mohammed. If you're looking for easy money,
this isn't it.
Not unless you're a promoter. If you're a promoter, you can make money easy in mining, but you have to be willing to lie and cheat.
Yeah, or you can look over your shoulder a lot.
What was the charge? Okay. Did you got here late,
Yeah,
right?
he got here later, so he didn't see what you were doing.
Okay. Have you watched the video from this week, Shotgun? Let me get this out here. Because, we did have a number of late arrivals. This thing is so heavy because of the head.
That's usually how it works, Goldstream. It's not the thing you're doing that'll usually get you. I always think of my brother. He rode motocross. He rode bulls. We bucked out horses at home. Yeah, and I think the only bone he ever broke was his ankle walking across the lawn one morning.
Sounds about right.
As many times as he probably should have hit a tree or a telephone pole with a motorcycle going 90 miles an hour. It was walking across the lawn that got him.
Yep. Okay, Shotgun. This is called a Sierra Blaster, and this is an extra weight. This is the actual head. This rod goes in a hole that you drill in the rock. The end of the rod goes this cartridge, and it has these lead wires here. And now that I'm figuring out how to do this, put this here.
Turn the slot,
And you set it on the end. Notice I'm wearing safety glasses because if this blows up, then my eyes could really be messed up. Then you run the wire in the slot like that. You have
he says he has a
lead
Sierra
here.
Blaster.
And hook it up, slide it in the hole, and set it off. And somebody asked, one charge, no booster? Correct. Although in this case, I had 2 charges because the first one got the wires damaged. And that meant I actually had 2 charges in there, but that, that wasn't intentional. It was just necessary at that point in time. Come on, get in there. There we go. So that's what we did. Oh, you didn't never notice the shirt?
Yeah. I don't think you were ever up square where you could read it tonight.
Yeah. Again, it's a weird time we live in, Mohammed. I mean, have you ever seen anything like that?
This is I don't know.
Yeah, this is unprecedented.
I mean, it's like reality doesn't mean anything, and
yeah,
you can lie to yourself all you want, but reality matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a favorite saying here in Montana, Goldstream, hold my beer and watch this.
Well, one I liked, somebody said, you can ignore reality, but you can't ignore the consequences of ignoring reality.
Ayn Rand.
I don't know if it was.
Yep, it was Ayn Rand who said that.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, that's not who I heard it from. Then
No, it's been repeated and again and again and again, but yeah.
Yeah, that was Ayn Rand.
Oh.
You getting her there, Keith?
Oh yeah, I'm just arranging it a little bit different this time because it's this box here is something new I just got.
Oh yeah, Mohammed, you have to respect people for their opinion. It's just you have to wonder sometimes how they arrived at the opinion, or why are they thinking that way?
And why are they so confident in their opinion when they don't take the time to make sure they got their facts straight? That's one that really gets me. I mean, I have some strong opinions that I think are probably true, but I'm perfectly willing to admit I don't know yet. Data is insufficient at the moment.
Yeah.
And that's just one of those things that humility is something that nature will teach you. Because if you want to get overconfident real quick, the rock will teach you that that's a bad idea. Oh. Okay. Come on, get in there.
Yeah, I agree with you, Resort Dog. That probably plays into this a little bit.
Okay. So that's what the charge was.
Yeah, Jeff is saying that I guess that's from Chris, but he was saying he was using 1 charge and 2 boosters in the water, breaking boulders.
Well, yeah, if you had a big ball. I only had something about the size of a soccer ball, basketball?
Yeah,
Wasn't much.
It was hard, and now you got the tools for the job, though. That's always a good place to get to. Yeah.
So anyhow.
All right. Any more mining questions? It's been an interesting night, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bear went on a rant.
I would agree with that, Smoking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering about a lot of
there's
tales running around, and what's the veracity? How deep is too deep? For what? The Sierra Blaster? Basically, yeah.
Yeah, Mohammed, we're down for the winter now. It's prep and think and plan and file permitting or whatever we may need to do.
Yeah. How deep is too deep? If you're using a Sierra Blaster, you don't want to get it too close to the far side of the rock. If you have, like a boulder, you want to try and get it in the middle.
Yeah.
You may want to take 2 heads and try and split it.
Or 3
Depends on
and
what you're
break
trying
it,
to
yeah.
do. As I recall right, Roberts, the cartridges are less than $2 each, and the boosters are about $1 each. So the actual explosives per se are relatively inexpensive.
But yeah, that's a good answer, Goldstream, because depth, especially in placer, you have to calculate your costs and figure out where you're at. Can you afford to move X amount of feet of overburden, and where are you going to move it, and what's it going to cost you to move it, to decide if it's worth even going after. That's actually one of the things I was going to talk about a little bit tonight is, even though it's got value, should it be mined? Or is it a viable mine based on
profitable?
On some of those facts, and you have to be honest with yourself when you're calculating those little conflicting things together to decide, is this a situation we really want to go that deep or go after? And it could be a hard rock mine too. I mean, if you're drilling and all the good material is 1,000 or 1,500 feet below the surface, you have a lot of mining to do to get to the ore body. And you have to make calculations at that point, or do a lot more drilling, which costs a lot more money to get those calculations figured out in your testing, so that that if we go after this, it's going to be worth it.
Imagine how much fun that was in the late 1800s in South Africa, where you're going over a mile deep.
Down and down and down and down.
Yep.
Well, some of that they literally started up fairly shallow, though.
Yeah.
They just kept chasing it deeper and deeper. I mean, Butte over here, they're over a mile deep at Butte. And it had to be worth it in order to continue to go.
Yep. In the stock market. Resort Dog, you're right. It's a lot easier to mine investors than it is to mine rock.
Well, and mining is a long process. I mean, by the time you look at, for separating my concentrates, I've been using a smaller trommel to clean it up a second time, and then I take the fines, all go right to the RP4 table, and anything coarse or that we'll work through it, and eventually even that'll go across the RP4 table, but we'll make splits in size to try to, usually if you can size your material, it's easier for separation.
And Mohammed, in terms of how deep do you drill, you never just drill a hole in the middle of nowhere for the heck of it. You always have a reason you're drilling, and that will give you an idea of what the depth is that will answer the question you need answered. For example, if you've got small vein structures running around and you can only mine them if they're less than, they're so close to the surface, well, that you're just not going to drill much deeper than that. The one exception to that would be if you're drilling through ore and you get to your design depth, say you're shooting for a 200-foot hole, and at 100 feet you start hitting good looking rock, and at 200 feet you're still in it, you keep going.
You keep drilling. Yeah, you never bottom out in an
ore.
ore. You want to go through the ore, ideally with your drill pattern, to find the other side.
Yeah, you always want to bottom and waste. And if you are in ore, you keep going. That's why you want to have somebody at the drill who's looking at the drill cuttings as they come up, who can make a reasonable judgment as to, does that look like ore or waste?
Yeah, and Wolfman, I'll go to the point of even some, if I get a lot of material that's hard to separate, I'll go to sizing it and go to the blue bowl, I don't like to do a lot of that because it's babysitting, and that's the part of it I hate. But I'll get down to where I'm getting every last little piece of gold if I can out of that, concentrate, because you went through all the work to get it. You better get, try to recover everything you can from it.
The South Africa mines are 140 degrees. The rock temperatures are up to 165 degrees Fahrenheit in the deepest mines. Some of the air temperatures are up to 140 degrees. And they pump chilled water down near the working areas so they can use that to run essentially air conditioners to reduce the air temperature.
Yeah, Shogun, classifying your sizes when you get down to a certain point, it makes a difference in trying to get separation, because if you've got really fine gold particles in a heavier amount of rock, and that sometimes it's so hard to get that separation when you're just, and ideally you'd want to save as much time as you can. Classifying it makes a big difference. David, I have used that occasionally when I get to a lot of fines, and then I do have a retort and everything, and I do it safely, but it's not something I resort to unless I absolutely get to that point that I'm so frustrated that that's going to be the fastest way to mop up that gold. In a contained environment. We're not using it in the field or anything.
I think I know the movie you're talking about. It was a comedy, if
Buster Scruggs.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think I've seen that too.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's kind of a weird comedy. Yeah. I'm familiar with it, Mohammed. I've never watched it, but I've seen some clips out of it.
What is it?
The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. You wouldn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't enjoy it, huh?
Nah, it's
The goddess would not be pleased.
no, it's really it's kind of odd. It's excessively violent, and it's kind of humorous in an oddball way, but it's nothing like, say, Blazing Saddles or something, which was just hilarious.
Blazing Saddles was lame.
I didn't think so.
No, it's not my fault you have bad taste in movies.
I thought it was hilarious because they really poked fun at the racism of the times. It was pretty funny. But yeah, Buster Scruggs was. I never watched the movie. I just watched clips from YouTube. Have you ever seen any?
I think so.
Yeah. He's just shooting people and making comments. Kind of a very low key, verbal delivery. Yeah. So anyhow, I would assume so, Chris. I've never tried it, although I've heard that if you tumble it, it'll work better.
Yeah, if you can polish the gold a little bit, it'll make a difference. But Chris, you're right, though. You should be able to basically get gravity separation right down to just about nothing. But the part that I get frustrated when I get right down to that last little bit that I keep fighting, and I've used some mercury to mop that up and then go deal with it later a few times just to get on with life.
Well, now when you get it down to where you can't get any of the gold left, just bring it to us and throw it on the pad.
Yeah, just throw it in the pot.
Throw it in the tank. Yep.
Yeah.
That's the nice thing about leaching is the harder it is to get by gravity, usually the easier it is to get with leaching. What would you guess the maximum size that we would be leaching with this stuff? About 400 mesh, Chris? Somewhere around there, I'm thinking. I think, the stuff I'm getting, 2,000 mesh, it just dissolves great. But I would think you'd probably be able to get it up to 400 or 500 mesh and still get reasonable time of dissolution, but I'm not sure.
I'm sure, Chris. I would not doubt that at all.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Somewhere around. So it's a nice compliment. Whatever the one doesn't get, the
Right.
other one will get.
Right.
And that's
kind of even the redundancy in my cleanups. You know, the way I do it is if you didn't get it this time, you go back over here, or I would even save all my tailings. And in the winter, I'd go back through a lot of that black sand and that. And it's surprising. Sometimes you'd have, you know, an ounce or two of gold just in a few buckets of really, it's just fine, you know, It's almost like smoke in the pan. It's such fine gold, but you can catch it.
it looks like gold paint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so fine that, yeah, pine oil float it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say when it gets small enough, the only thing that really gets it is leaching. Oh.
And ours is small enough.
Oh, it's small enough.
Yeah, that's some fine.
That's some pretty fine stuff.
When you
Absolutely.
can't see it. It's there and you can't see it.
Oh, by the way, we got 13 quarts of turkey.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yep.
I got
Eat
all my.
one
Oh,
tonight.
that's something I did last week. I got all my sauerkraut canned.
There you go.
Yeah, I got that done. I did get a few things done.
Yeah, that would be cool, Resort Dog. Absolutely. Oh, and one thing's, you know, some millwrights don't understand just how much gold likes to settle out. So if you don't understand that, you can easily get your gold settling someplace unnoticed. One place it tends to wind up is in the ball mill, but also the American Girl mine over there in Southern California. About a month after commissioning, the mill foreman and the head metallurgist were wandering around taking a tour, and the metallurgist asked the foreman, "How's it, going? Everything working?" He says, "Yeah, it works fine. We only have one problem. That's this spot here tends to plug up with this sludge, and so we have to manually clean it out." And the metallurgist, his ears perk right up, and he goes, "Right here?" And they go, "Yeah." He takes a sample back to the lab, hands it out, and says, "Yeah, I wouldn't mind cleaning that out myself. It's about 25% gold."
Just shovel it out into the yard.
When they say that gold is in the parts per billion range, are they referring to the average in the crust? Probably. That's one of the things they do that, they'll say, well, there's a lot of gold, but it's just not concentrated.
Right. You have to have, and really to have an ore body or anything, you have to have concentration that'll, yield enough to make it worth the effort.
Gold.
And some of these huge
Cranberry
mines,
orange brownies.
some of these huge mines have been able to, bring that, what would be a low volume or a low percentage rock, into an actual mine that can produce. But yeah, someday Goldstream, they'll probably figure out how to yield, get some of that gold out of that water. We have water here in these springs that it's amazing when you have it analyzed what's actually in that water.
That's weird. I was trying gold concentration. Okay, that did fine. Concentration. Got that.
Thanks for being here, Tricky, and
In
I hope you recover, man.
the Crust. C-R-U-S-T. Thank you.
Yeah, he makes amazing Ketos cranberry orange.
0.005
brownies.
parts per million or 5 parts per billion. Yeah, that's what it'd be. Gold average concentration in the Earth's crust is 5 parts per billion. Yep. Butte County, where?
Montana, I'm assuming.
I don't know. That's in, isn't it Silverbow County? Because we got
Well,
Jefferson County.
There's a Butte County too, somewhere here, I think, or that or North Dakota. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Because I think it's Silverbow County, Jefferson County. What's that one?
You'd have to look at a Montana map because there's
Yeah.
a lot of counties.
Well, Butte is in Silverbow County.
I presume it's just kind of residual left there, John. I'm thinking the same thing. I think there must be a lot of gold in the core. Yeah, anytime you can take a waste product and turn it into a profitable material source, that's usually a pretty good thing there, Goldstream. Absolutely.
Yeah, being they already have a waste product that they already spent the money to extract it, you might as well spend a little more money to take out whatever's in it.
Yeah. It's like in the smelters when they changed to the enriched oxygen flash furnaces and then turned the flue gas into sulfuric acid instead of venting it.
Yep.
Cleaned up the environment a lot.
Yeah, and they had a use for the sulfuric acid.
Yep. It's a co-product or
Yeah,
a byproduct.
well,
Yeah. Butte County, California.
All right.
Well, where the heck
There we
is
go.
that in terms of a city of any size? By the way, we generally try and avoid the People's Republic of California. We're not sure once we get behind the lines whether they'll let us out. My mom once wound up in East Germany on a tour. She said she did not like it a bit. Said when guards or soldiers, I'm not sure what, but anyhow, they had machine guns come on board the train and said, anyone who's not off the train in 5 minutes will be arrested as a spy. She said, luggage was flying out the windows and everything. She says, I am not going back. Yeah. And yeah. Well, do they need to really clean up the oil wells or do they just need to cap them? That's my question, Goldstream. Are they contaminating anything or are they just there? He's up in Forest Hill, kind of on the way between Sacramento and Reno. Okay. That was my thought too, John, but I don't know. I haven't seen any information of a scientific nature on that, but that would be my thought too. Well, in that case, they need to be filled with concrete or something. It should be pretty easy. I mean, from a technological standpoint, just pump grout until you can't get any more in there.
What is it? Fracking mines they're closing?
Oil mine,
Old oil wells.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me, Roberts. Yeah, I mean, if it's a problem, it can be, there's a technological solution. Not sure if there's any good industrial use for hydrogen sulfide. Can't think of anything. It's
Hydrogen sulfide?
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll see what I can find.
I mean, you could burn it, but I don't know how. efficient that would be. It's pretty darn toxic.
Oh yeah, it's poisonous gas. Alcoholic beverages.
I'm sure they use it.
Chris says it's incredibly important industrially.
Alcoholic beverages.
Goldstream says no need for it. It's just incredibly toxic. It is toxic. It's about as toxic as hydrogen cyanide.
Yeah, it's the smell of money from paper mills. In case anybody's curious. I can tell you that one because I know what it smells like.
There might be better ways of getting it than old oil wells, but if you can do a cleanup too, sometimes it makes sense. So you can always just pump grout down the well.
Iron smelters, landfills, food processing plants, and breweries produce and use hydrogen sulfide in some cases.
There's an answer.
And you come in, and like I said, it's the smell of money that you smell from paper mills.
Yep.
Funny story about that one. I grew up in Maine.
Might want to get closer to the mic.
Funny story about that one. I grew up in Maine. My grandmother died of emphysema. Lincoln, Maine was about 12 miles down the road from where she lived, and they had 3 paper mills. And when you went into Lincoln to shop, it stunk. And my grandmother called it the smell of money. Everybody loved the smell because when those mills were going, that meant that everybody was actually able to feed themselves. But about half the town had emphysema, COPD, or asthma. So, yeah, I know what hydrogen sulfide smells like.
Okay.
But apparently it's used in some parts of the brewing and food industries.
Yep.
For something obscure and crazy.
Read a German thing about oil is a continuous chemical process. How does an old forest get miles deep?
Yeah.
I think I understand what you're saying. The idea is a non-biogenic hydrocarbons. In other words, it's coming from the earth. It's not from old plants and animals and stuff like that. The article I read seemed to make a reasonable case. I think that it's been researched a bit, and you can have both kinds of oil. I don't know which is the most commercially important. Chris probably does, but yeah, it made a lot of sense to me. It's like, why is all this oil in areas that don't have a lot of old sediments? Doesn't make sense. Dinosaurs used to be miners and they got caught in their old mine shafts.
Dinosaurs got caught in tar pits, I think.
Yeah. Shotgun Jeffrey Allen says, "Oh my God, Eva, that's what's wrong with the old generation from Anderson, California. I don't like that smell. It turns his stomach."
Yep. That's exactly why. They call it the smell of money, but it kills your lungs.
Yeah. Smoking says dairy farmers say that
money,
say that dairy air is the smell of money too.
Or hog farmers or turkey farmers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is a stomach turning smell, and man, when you get stuck in it, your lungs burn. It's
Chris,
crazy.
I heard that was more of the coal was formed because the microbes couldn't digest lignin for millions of years. So every tree that fell over just sat there. I don't recall that being oil, but that's why it was the Carboniferous era where most of the coal was formed, because the trees wouldn't rot.
Right.
Yeah, Goldstream. That's kind of, I mean, coal is where you expect it. And you got fossils in it and everything else. And, but oil and natural gas are somewhat less predictable as far as I can see. I haven't studied it very well, so I don't have any strong opinion on it, but my opinion is sufficiently nebulous that if somebody came up with a good reason for it, I wouldn't go, no, that can't be, Does anyone want to hear how you do a fire drill in an underground mine with 100 miles of tunnels? Coal, oil, gas, same stuff. Basically, yeah, it's all high. Well, no, coal is different than oil and gas. Oil and gas are hydrocarbons. Coal is, in fact, carbon. And I say with coal, you can actually see fossils. So you can be damn sure where it came from because there's still fossils of the trees and leaves and stuff. No, I haven't been watching that one, John. Yeah, you guys up there in Alberta have some big tar sand mines. Yep. Well, it's not very close to pure carbon. It's not a hydrocarbon either. It's not a liquid or a gas. And I'm sure there's some oil associated or some hydrocarbons associated with methane especially. But there's a lot of hydrocarbons that don't seem associated with a biogenic origin. Oh, yeah, they're big rascals. Absolutely gold stream. Although, as I understand it, they're seeing if they can't maybe do in situ mining too, where they just pump steam underground and heat it to where it'll flow and then pump it out like they would oil. I'm not sure. And say that's an interesting situation there. Yeah, I mean, it's a very difficult material to work with. He says there in situ mining is common there too. Yeah. Yeah, because once you liquefy it, you can pump it.
Well, they've started to do that with all the uranium now too.
Yeah.
Instead of mining the rock, you're putting multiple wells down and retrieving it.
There's a physicist, I forget what her name is. She has a channel that I typically like. I forget. She's pretty good. She explains things pretty well. And I don't know if there's one real quick here that I can find. She's German. She pronounces Einstein properly. But she hasn't had anything recently here. No biggie. But yeah, I watch her. Sabine, yeah, that's right. That's right, Chris. I should have just asked you. I really like her. Yeah, she's good. She explains it well. She's also pretty knowledgeable. I mean, she is, in fact, a physicist. You know? Yeah. Yeah, Goldstream. I wonder what would happen if you pumped oxygen down there. It's an interesting question because you do have fuel and you want heat. I don't know. I really don't know, Jeffrey. My thought would be, Hassenfelder. Lithium in large cell bank safe. I wouldn't want one right behind my house. Let me put it that way. I think if you've got sufficient clearance around it, it's probably safe. I mean, what was that rocket fuel plant? And I think it was over by Nevada.
They have some Tesla batteries where in Australia or somewhere that one of them lit up and it took them like weeks to shut it down.
Yeah, it was
actually that's right. It's one of their big battery storage things.
Lithium storage.
Yeah, for all that wonderful
Green energy.
Green energy, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was kind of an arc green.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
as the copper goes up in the arc. Yeah. I say, I don't know. I mean, Henderson, that was the one where the rocket fuel plant caught on fire and went kabooey. It was pretty interesting to watch. Shotgun, I don't think there were fatalities on that one, were there? I know the plant was completely obliterated, but I think they managed to get everyone evacuated. Yeah, Goldstream, it seems a little counterintuitive, but the numbers crunch. You do it.
Well, at least for a time they do. You never know.
Well, everything gets mined out. I'll take your word for it, Chris. I don't know. Again,
Yeah.
I haven't studied it. I'm too busy busting rocks. I hope the feds don't find out about that, or they'll say, "Oh, we've got a great idea for you." See this sledgehammer?
Yeah.
See those boulders? We need gravel. Yeah, it was pretty intense. Nothing like a self-oxidizing reducing agent deciding to disassociate rapidly. It wasn't nearly as bad as Texas City in terms of power, I don't think. I hope not, David. I really, really hope not. Of course, the way the laws are nowadays, we're all criminals. Nobody can live in the United States without breaking the law. And so the only reason you're free is because some prosecutor hasn't decided to prosecute you. That makes you feel wonderful, doesn't it? Block cave mining is pretty intense. Yeah, the San Manuel mine north of Tucson there, it looked pretty interesting to see a 500-foot hole in the ground, just a sinkhole from mining out the stuff.
Ore body.
Oh, the Oroville placers, huh? Let's see, if you'd have said Oroville, I'd have known immediately. I made it in the news not too long ago. That must have been pretty spooky if you were around the
Dam.
around that river there. And I said, "Get out now." That would have been pretty weird. Yeah, I prefer camo too. Although actually I prefer mine dirt. Well, underneath the block caving, where's our little thing here? Might as well do a little.
Sure.
Why not?
Why not? Here. We need a maca.
I've actually been in the San Manuel mine at about 2,500 feet down. With block caving, let's say here's the surface of the ground, and here's your ore body, and this is like 1,000 feet. Okay. So what they do is they'll come over here, where they're going to be nice, well away from it, sink a shaft, drive a tunnel underneath. Okay. Then from this tunnel, they'll go and they'll drive raises to the grizzly level. There's tunnels here. And then these tunnels will have other raises up into the ore body.
And then they'll make more tunnels. And they'll do this room and pillar. And they have like a grid work of tunnels. And then they blow out the pillars and all this stuff starts breaking up. You can imagine what would happen. You'd have a dome of rock breaking and collapsing here and being drawn out by these raises. And you do it, then you blow this pillar and now the collapse zone increases and gets taller. And you blow out this pillar and now it gets bigger. And as this stuff comes down, they feed through these chutes, load these raises above the track level, and then in that San Manuel, they had, I think it was 30-ton ore cars, and it was about 10 per train. So each train would hold 300 tons of ore. And they just pull it in, load it from the raises, haul it to the shaft, hoist it out. Now, according to the engineer that was giving us a tour, one thing you have to be careful of is you want to keep pulling these raises until you're ready to abandon this area, because as stuff keeps collapsing, it builds pressure. So you want to keep relieving that pressure. And he said they would draw, the ore body is more complicated, but they would draw anywhere from 600 to 1,000 feet of rock. Just suck it down.
Just keep shifting it.
And it would keep breaking itself up. He said pretty soon it became pretty small. You weren't getting any big rocks anymore.
Really?
And these tunnels here are lined with 24 inches of concrete. 2 feet of shotcrete. And he took us to a place where they'd abandoned. He says, "You want to see where, it gets crushed?" Sure. So we walked back into this area, and literally, it got down. I mean, we stopped when it was about 5 feet high. It started out 15.
Wow.
And we're in there, and I say it was pretty weird. Like, you could just tell the enormous pressure that it would build. But yeah, he said they'd suck, 600 to 1,200 feet of rock out. And then once it starts coming out waste, then they would just abandon that area.
Wow.
But yeah.
I guess that's what the Black Butte over here, that's what they're doing there. But they're actually running a tunnel from, I don't know, quite a few miles away in under the ore body.
Decline?
Yep,
Yeah.
Declining in under it so that they can use heavy equipment.
Yeah, just haul it out.
And the trains or whatever could come right out.
Yeah. No, and it's a very efficient way, but it's very capital intensive initially. You got to spend a lot of money before you start making money.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
That's what they're doing over there, is working their decline right now.
I'd like to tour some of the mines around that area.
Yeah.
Maybe this winter.
Oh.
Let's see, look at this one. No, what was bad was it was obvious it was going to have problems, and none of the community took it as a pre-warning. All the smart folks moved up above the dam and watched. Yeah, this is one thing. I never understand people who don't want to stay informed. Well, it'll stress me out. Well, if it's not bad news, why would it stress you out? If it is bad news, why do you not want to know?
Yeah, right.
You know? Hello, Joshua. Yeah, we're doing just fine. It's getting towards the end of the live stream, though. If you have any questions, ask them now. We're going to be shutting down pretty soon. Say, I just don't understand people who want to live in a quote unquote comfortable fantasy land, so to speak. To me, it would not be comfortable. Just not my mindset. I want to know the truth.
Yeah.
I like to say, if a giant truckload of crap is going to fall from the sky, I don't want to be standing at ground zero. But if I'm really smart, I'll be standing nearby with a bunch of fertilizer sacks, and I can shovel it in and sell it. No matter what happens, somebody always makes money. That's how it works. Where is the gold? Well, let's see.
In the ground,
that way.
In the ground.
Yeah. The weather, the landscape, everything. You got to take all your contingencies into account and, use your best judgment, and then don't worry. Why worry? It'll kill you. I don't worry. I plan.
Yeah, just plan.
Yeah. If I wasn't,
That's a positive thing, planning.
if I wasn't paying attention to things, then I'd be worried about what I wasn't paying attention to that I ought to. By paying attention, I don't worry. My daughter can't understand that. She doesn't understand how focusing on all the negativity isn't worrying. It's like, no, I'm just staying informed.
Right. Using a brain that you have.
She's like, I just don't want to know. It stresses me. And I'm like, well, you're different than me. And I say, she doesn't understand my mind, because I'm like, let me worry about it then. Don't, just live your life.
Yeah.
I'll worry about keeping the situation around as much as I can,
That's right, John. It's, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's it. They, or they move next to the chemical plant and then complain about the smell.
Or a dairy farm.
Yeah.
We used to get that all the time. They'd move, I don't know, they would build a house right over next to, the manure pit, you know. And then they'd bitch that now they're out in the country, and then they're bitching. It's like, really?
Little planning can solve that.
Yeah, little, like maybe you should have stayed where you were.
Or picked a different spot to build a house.
Yeah.
Well, it was cheap. Yeah.
Yeah, but the
There's a
prevailing wind
reason
is
it
from
was
the west.
cheap.
Yeah. Prevailing
Well,
wind is
can you imagine a real estate agent in a situation like that? It's like, well, we'd like to take a look at that property. Whether, how about tomorrow? I can do it tomorrow. I'm busy today. Something just
the
came
wind
up.
will be out of the south tomorrow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what would be really cool? Those people that live in Boca Chica, Texas? I mean, they literally have to leave their houses because they're launching these rockets. So, I mean, wow, go talk about a great view.
Yeah.
Sweet, man.
Yeah, but I bet they're annoyed because there wasn't a rocket launch there when they moved there.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that, Elon would be happy to buy their houses if they wanted to sell. But a lot of them have just turned it into a money-making opportunity, because it's one of the recent launches where they were testing, launching and landing it there. And, there's like, well, our cameras are set up on this person's lawn, and our, it's hilarious. I wouldn't mind living there. That'd get pretty exciting to be on the cutting edge of history, so to speak,
Building an ore cart.
I'm doing steel because I trust steel more than wood. Wood's a little less predictable, and it's a whole lot less strong. So that's why I've got that ladder track, is because it's fairly light, very strong, and I don't have to worry about it. Build a house next to the dog pound, call the cops because of the barking. It happened for real. I'd believe it.
I'd believe anything anymore.
If
Some of
I
this
was the
stuff,
judge they came
you
to,
can't make it up. It's you know.
Oh yeah, there are people that will do that.
yeah, Boca Chica. Is it Boca Chica Mary or Boca Chica Gal? I think that's Mary. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are doing it.
Well, remember in Tucson
Yeah,
when people moved under the landing track for the airport, and it is very well known that that neighborhood has the lowest property values because they're right under planes taking off and landing. And then they tried to sue the airport because of the planes taking off and landing.
yeah. No, I understand Kodak. If I was doing structural stuff, I wouldn't trust my wells that much either. What I'm doing, there's such tremendous, what do you call it? Excess, that I'm not worried at all. As a matter of fact, there's one piece I made that I had to adjust so that other stuff would slide onto it. And I adjusted by just beating the crap out of the rung to bend it and bring the sides in. It held. But yeah, the wells are not anywhere near the maximum theoretical strength. They are not pretty, but with the steel, you have such tremendous excess strength that you can get away with crap like that and still have it plenty strong. And the other thing is the things that are really important are the rails, and they're not welded together; they're pinned together. But yeah, I wouldn't. If you wouldn't want me welding your sand buggy frame. On the other hand,
You
we
still
will.
are supposed to make me a sandrail.
I was going to buy you one. We win the lottery. I got a lot of things. Got to give you a ride on a MiG-29 too. Yeah, she's. If we win the lottery, we're going to see about getting her one of the MiG Flug rides to the edge of space, 45,000 feet and stuff. She's like, you betcha. I'd like one too, but it's like, okay, Ivan, here's the deal. None of this fancy aerobatic crap. Take off, get going. Nice, gentle turn, straight up. Take me up to space. Let me get a good look and everything. And that'll be fine. None of the aerobatics are going to puke in your cockpit, okay?
He misses all the fun.
Yeah. But she doesn't get motion sick. So she would love to get one of those rides. And that looks pretty cool.
I want to ride the vomit
I think it was $25,000 for an hour in a MiG-29 or something like that. It's pretty good. Wood ladders are so much easier to build in situ. I'm thinking if you build them, yeah, but I mean, mine pinned together, so I'm assembling it in situ. So I don't see a problem. Now, I'm going to be using wood stoles to rest it on. There's some, I got no problem with wood. It's just certain things not so good. And I agree with Chris. I've had a wood ladder just completely disintegrate under me for no apparent reason. Yes, it was obviously rotten and stuff after it disintegrated, but it didn't look that bad. Luckily, I didn't fall, but 3 or 4 feet. But yeah, wood, you can't tell by looking at it how strong it is. Yeah, aluminum would have to be reasonably thick, although it doesn't oxidize that bad. But in some wet environments, especially like acid mine drainage, it might go pretty quick. And yeah, some of those 100-year-old wood ladders are still usable. Most are not. Where I'm the moisture that I'm at, the steel will be there 100 years from now and no problem. I don't know. I don't think the MiG-25 goes as high as the MiG-29. The Foxbat's a little faster, but it just has an enormous amount of power. It doesn't have the maneuverability, or I don't think the the maximum altitude. Not sure, but I mean it's not a good aerobatic. I think it's made out of steel, if I'm not mistaken. You could get galvanized pipe for rails, yeah, and then you have to paint the joints, but that's easy enough to do.
Yeah, cold galvanizing.
Yeah. Yeah, the Russians did amazing things with relatively low tech stuff compared to us. We threw tech at it to beat the wazoo. They just learned how to do it with steel. You know? Yeah, pretty much. That's what it is. Just two engines and something around it. Yeah, you can get spray or you can get the paint on type either way. I generally trust the paint on type. The spray cans tend to plug the nozzle. That's what happens when you're spraying a particle through it. But the can, it's easier to just yeah. Say, sometimes wood works fine, sometimes it doesn't. Steel, you can tell just looking at it how strong it is. It has to be pretty badly corroded before you've lost enough strength. But that's why I like steel.
Yeah.
And we're using a lot of the old wood that's out there to do other things. It's not
Sweet,
like we're not
John.
using wood.
Yeah, over there in Tucson, they had the old boneyard with all the planes and stuff, and that was kind of cool. Yeah, well, I want something that fits exactly the way I want. Just mild steel is all I'm using. Nothing fancy.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it's heavier than I need because the wall thickness shrinks the inner diameter to the point where I get a fairly good fit with the next size down tubing. So it's actually heavier than I would like. I could use EMT conduit, have a lighter ladder, but then you got to deal with all that galvanizing. And if you don't grind it off, then it's vaporizing and you're breathing it. And, you know, also the price of steel has gone up a lot, which is not helpful.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Well, guys, it's been a fun evening.
Yep. So I'm not sure how much more excitement I'll have this fall, but I'll be constantly doing lab work and this, that, and the other. So there will be things happening, and I'm going to have 2 cataract surgeries, 1 hernia surgery that I know of. Get all that taken care of in the off season, but I got lots of little stuff to get done, and hopefully we'll have some really interesting stuff on getting the gold back out of the resin. So we shall see what we shall see. Anyhow, Jim here, he's just going to be a slacker all winter long. I know him.
I doubt that,
But yeah, next spring he's going to have a lot to do on that placer,
Oh,
right?
yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. Definitely going to get in and do some pretty major testing. So,
No, I don't think so, Roberts. I've come close to getting rich several times in my life. It's always been screwed up by someone else. I had the setup, but it didn't work. And I think that God doesn't want me to get rich for whatever reason. I have Eva. I have friends. I have a lot of fun stuff to do. And I'm very comfortable where I'm at. So I'm blessed, even if I'm not rich. There's a lot of rich people who are not nearly as happy as I am. Are we going to melt a little resin for us? That is the plan. And we, if that works out well, we get the right flux and get good recovery, that'll probably be the end of it. If not, we're probably going to be working at various stripping methodologies. And we shall see what works the simplest, the most efficiently, and the easiest. You know, John, I don't know. I mean, I always have luck when I need it. But when I start getting really comfortable financially, then something screws it up. So I'm not sure exactly what is going on there, but I've given up trying to get rich. I'm just trying to enjoy life.
see you later, smoking.
Money is highly overrated.
Yeah.
Myco, that's a motorcycle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mako dirt bike.
Oh, I didn't miss it. You got laid off just before the bridge fell. Yeah, that's convenient. Yep.
That was luck.
Not necessarily. I don't know.
I
I
weren't meant to be there, at least.
Yeah, I've come to the conclusion that there's layers to reality that I'm not cognizant of it. I don't know what they are. I don't know how it works. It's way above my pay grade, but there's an awful lot of coincidences. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not coincidence,
Yeah.
synchronicity.
Yeah, something like that. It looks like coincidence, except when it happens so consistently. Is it really? I don't know. But whatever. I'm having a great time. I have a wife that I love very much and who loves me. I got a comfortable situation, and I get to do what I like to do.
That's a big
And,
part of life.
You know, that's enough. No sense whining about that. I call that success. So, anyhow.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Happy prospecting and keep it safe out there.
Yeah. All righty. All righty. Good night, all. Thanks for coming. And if you got any questions, write them down for next week or send them on a comment on one of my videos.
Or an email.
Happy prospecting and keep it safe out there.